Welcome everybody to Nsway 73 TV. It is me, Uncle E. Do me a favor and take a second to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and do me a favor, leave me a comment. Like I always say, whether it's good or bad, I appreciate you taking the time to do so. And also, I have to make a quick, little brief announcement. So I had a platform called It's Me, Uncle E on YouTube, which I'm transitioning over to Nsway 73 TV. So everyone watching this interview, please make sure you find me, Nsway 73 TV. It's not going to be any more the It's Me, Uncle E channel. I will be posting about that in the future. But Nsway 73 TV, that's where it's at. And don't forget, the TV stands for talent and vision. Make sure to pursue your talent with a clear vision. And don't ever stop. Joining me today, usually I kind of give a brief description about who the person is, what they do, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to do that today. I want my guest to describe and take us through a journey of everything that she does and work our way up until today. But I am going to say this. A true warrior, very talented, a person that cares about her community, children as well as adults, does a lot of great work through, I will say art. I didn't want to get too much, but through her art, she does a lot of amazing work. And I'm going to leave it at that. So if you want to know more about my guest, make sure you watch the entire interview. It's going to be a good one. Erica.
Hey guys, hey.
Right? Hold on. So Erica, this is what I want to do before we get too crazy and too deep into everything. My name's Eric. Your name's Erica, right? I see that people like to call you by your initial. They like to say E.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Same as me. So, I want to have a brief little dialogue. Are you obsessed with the letter E the same way I am?
I am. Yeah, I am.
Are you? Like,
I mean,
I,
growing up it was E Money.
yeah.
I got all the like rapper tags tagged on me, and I had a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of a sporty swag, so it worked out.
Right.
But yeah, the E is everything, and I prefer like even my students, Mrs. E. I don't have them call me Erica or Miss Purnell. It's Mrs. E.
Mrs.
I
E.
like the E part of it. So yeah.
I've never had this conversation with anybody. And since I knew that I was going to have you on, for some reason, that's been stuck in my head, right? I'm obsessed with this since I was a little kid. I love writing the letter, different styles or whatever, and anything that in Sway 73 TV, the E, right? Everything for me is an E. My kids' all first name starts with an E.
Oh wow.
It's a little crazy. Some people might
I
say
love
it's a
it. I
little
love
bit
it. That's
too
how it should be. That's how it
obsessed,
should
right?
be.
So I just wanted to know if that was the same for you. I was even thinking, I think I'm going to, I got to come up with a name for this episode. You know what I mean? It has to be something with the E and E, or I got to figure that one out.
We gonna do it
We're
before the
gonna,
end. Don't worry, we
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
do
yeah,
it.
yeah. So I
Yeah,
just
I
want
was
to
always
know,
with a Sharpie. Like that was my
yeah,
thing. My base is just always markers, and it
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
script E's because I wanted to be
Yes.
cool with it, and then
Miss
it was
O.
boxy graffiti E's. It was like E's over everything. So definitely.
Finally, you're my E twin. You're my E
It's the
doppelganger
fifth
out
letter.
there.
It's the best. It's the best.
Right? I don't know what it is about it, but I don't see other people's obsessing so much about their initials. So shout out. Good, good, good. Thank you. You make me feel good. All
Yeah,
right.
you got
Enough of
it.
that. So Erica, like I was saying, I called you true warrior, and we'll get into why I say that a little bit later. But do me a favor, let's go back a little bit. You're an artist. You also teach, and you use art as a form of teaching. Uh, do me a favor. Where does your passion for art come from? Where does it stem from? When did that start?
Oh man, it's a deep journey. I always tell people it's in the blood for me.
Okay.
I get stories from my dad about my grandmother who used to paint and draw, and so it's a deep in the blade in the veins. And
Okay.
I've had cousins that drew like older than me, and so it was kind of always around me. Like growing up, my cousin would have pictures of like my grandfather. He drew it like charcoal on the wall,
Really?
and I just always, my family was just always arts driven, like poetry, fashion, just music, everything, and definitely the art. And so for me, it was just kind of doodling cartoons on like my granddad's coffee table, and
Okay.
just out in Brownsville and just watching cartoons, and my granddad's in the window, and I'm just doodling away. And, my cousins would get me markers from Pearl Paint, way back in the day. And I would be
That's
drawing like a little, like maybe second or third grader with like design markers with the double tip, and people don't know about those, right? It's all about the Copics, but the design markers. And I was doing stuff with them and I didn't really know. And then I started to learn and just really draw from comics and just things. My dad was a big comic book head back in the day. He used to go to Broadway comics back in Manhattan, bring the
yes.
new Spider-Man issue home every 2 weeks. You had to wait 2 weeks for the new
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
And after he finished it, he would give it to me, and I would just be obsessed. And I remember my first character, besides just regular Spider-Man, was Spider-Man 2099, because he was just so like fast, like futuristic with the denim jacket and like everything. And I remember I drew a picture of him, and I was just doodling it. And I still have it actually, and it was just really drawn from comic books
so funny
and
because
just looking at the you got it. There we go.
I just picked this
He
one
was
up.
the coolest thing ever to me. I mean, and I was just one of those girls that was just so much into kind of like, I don't want to say tomboy stuff, but I just was like
Hmm.
into arts and sports and all that stuff. And then comics again, just from my dad. And growing up with my dad, it was just like, again, just the handoff, right? And then
Hmm.
I got into video games, and I was just one of those kind of geek girls back then,
Right, right.
really all into different things. And um, took that love of it and just started drawing and drawing and drawing. And so I always tell people, thank my father, because his comic collection is what got me into drawing. And then I started looking at anatomy and just other things. And then when I went to school, it was just like learning more about form and, actual fine arts and stuff like that. And I wanted to go into architecture. I remember I loved
Okay.
math and art and just loved structure. And then the fine arts took over. And that's how the journey started.
Okay. That's pretty cool. Does your dad still have that comic book
He still
collection?
has the collection. You know what? It was actually in my possession maybe about 10 years ago. He had it in one of my old apartments. And I was like, hey, like I'm gonna be moving. Do you know? And I was like, I should have kept my hands. He didn't ask for it. I gave it
You
back
gave it back.
willingly, but I know if I ask him for it, he'll give it back to me. But he still
Ooh.
has he's total Marvel guy,
Hmm.
which is, I love Spidey and all that kind of stuff.
Right,
But he
right.
did capture into some of the DC stuff, like when Superman died.
Okay.
He still has some of the bagged ones unzipped. He
What?
would buy like two of them and then
Yeah,
open
yeah.
one to read and keep one. And he has the white bag and the black bag one still in his possession. But he was really into that Death of Superman and like the four Superman that kind of evolved from that.
Yeah, yeah,
And that was
yeah.
his only DC wave, but everything else is Marvel
It's
for sure.
Marvel. Wow, that's cool. But he has to, man, I would love to see that one day. So what you said, you mentioned first of all, you mentioned Brooklyn. So born and raised?
Yeah, I'm from Brooklyn. My family's from Brownsville, Brooklyn.
Brownsville,
From the
Brooklyn.
Ville, never ran, never will.
Yeah. Do they still do the kids still
Yeah,
say that?
not the newer kids,
Not
but
the
I know
new.
some of my peers that are from Brownsville that I know in the fashion and art, we all kind of still shout
You
it to
still
each other.
say, yeah. I feel like that kind of died out. It used to be
They
like
probably shout it at Old Timers Day still,
the do or
which
die
I haven't
bed
been to in
style,
years. So
right? Like they had the do or die bed style, and then
it's a
yeah,
salute.
yeah,
We
yeah.
have me and my sister say each other all the time because
Nah.
we're like, yeah, we never ran, never will. So like they're like, yeah, we becoming the OGs now. That's
So
why.
Brownsville, lot of people came out of Brownsville.
For sure, for
Lot
sure.
of,
A
lot
lot of
of,
my peers, I think even, some of them, we all, like, we connected years later. I didn't grow up with them per se, but
Mhm.
later on, we was like, oh, yeah, you from Van Dyke? Oh, you from Brownsville houses? Like, we found out we had those mutual grounds and know a lot of common people, even from, like, the neighboring Tilden houses that was next door,
Okay, okay.
and stuff like that. Brooklyn's big, but small at the same time.
Right, right, right. So actually, I'll take this opportunity to give Crash One a quick
Yeah, that's
shout
my boy
out.
Crash, for sure.
Because that's how I came across
Yes,
you,
yes,
and
yeah.
I
But
told
He's
them,
he's been a supportive like friend, colleague, art friend like for years, like,
I
and he's always just shown mad love. So shout out to Crash for sure.
I told them right away as soon as I saw, came across you, and I was like, man, do you think she would want to do it? And he was like, oh, no
Of
problem, man.
course, yeah,
I'll
for
get, yeah, yeah,
sure.
yeah. So shout out to Crash
Yeah,
One.
shout out to Crash for sure. He's
Um,
always doing his thing. So, and make
yeah,
sure
yeah,
y'all
yeah,
check out his interview on here too.
yeah, 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 yeah. Definitely, definitely. It's on there. So, you mentioned the architect, but then you made, you went the different route.
Right.
But what was it in particular that swayed you away from the architect? Like, was it something you saw? Did you just know, like, what
I
exactly
just
was?
I think there was just something like a deeper talent inside me, and I think
Mhm.
I was like, you go into high school and you hear like your aunts and your dad, yeah, everybody's like, get a safe job, get a job that's
Right,
gonna
right.
be. And so I said, well, if I get something in architecture, it's a respected job, and plus it's
Mhm.
creative, and I love math. I love math and science as
Mhm.
equally as I love art, and so I wanted to find a common loophole because you tell somebody, oh, I just want to be an artist, that doesn't that doesn't fly well with the family and stuff. They're like,
Right,
well, you
right.
got to be safe out here, and
Mhm.
much respect to that for sure. But um, I think it was just something in school where I kind of just started getting into like my talent more, and I had like a technology teacher, and he was showing me how to do like silk screening, and I was learning how to do developing film. Like I was really learning a lot of the fine art stuff, and I would go to like my 3D design class and my architecture class. I had that in high school actually, and it just was like I was building the bridge and learning about structure, and something just clicked, and I was just like, I'm gonna go this way with it, and that would have been a great route and a safe route, but it just wouldn't have been really to what I wanted to do.
It wasn't right, right, right. You seem like you come across as somebody that's very expressive and wants to be able to, where architect might be a little bit more boxed
Right. Like I
in,
think like
kind
I
of.
said, and much respect to the architects out there. I even have friends that went down that route, and
Hmm.
I do love it. And at the time we were learning stuff like on AutoCAD, like a lot of
Hmm.
newer technologies were developing, but I just started developing, and I would have like friends in high school come to the art classroom after school and sit and like while I would draw them, and I just developed it. And then my art teacher got me classes at FIT while I was still in high school. So I was taking like 3D fit, like I
Right,
was
right.
drawing from models when I was like 16, 17, and just kind of go into, and then I eventually ended up going to that college because
Mm,
of the
yeah, okay.
exposure to it. I would go down on Saturdays, take like two classes, and I took an advertising class where we learned how to like cut up stuff and learned how to use color to convey emotions, and there's a lot of like psychology attached to it. So I was like, hey, this is actually kind of cool. And so I actually did end up going to FIT for
Okay.
college, and I went for advertising design, which was just
Okay.
basically learning how to do the design elements of marketing and things like that. So
Right, 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 right. Did you enjoy that part of it?
I loved it. I loved it. I
Yeah.
still to this day, like it's
Okay.
marketing for me. Like I said, I did have a stint, and I'll talk about that later, where I did
Hmm.
kind of go into the ad tech world. And I love technology and science, but the
Okay.
understanding of why somebody picks one brand of soda over another brand based on design and color and how they market it to different places. Like I started to learn that, and it was really interesting. And when I was in school, I was learning like marker rendering. Like I remember, so if you connect it to when I was on my granddad's table drawing with the markers,
Right.
then I use those same markers now in college, and now I know how to use them because I already had exposure to them. And we were learning how to do like those marker renderings, like that Macy's used to do in newspapers back in the
Okay.
day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was still at an age where like the computers didn't take over yet, and so I was
Hmm.
still doing a lot of stuff hands on, like cutting
Okay.
stuff, going to Kinko's before it came FedEx, copying stuff, pasting, and it was just really more hands on. And just understanding, like I said, psychology and things. And I was like, oh, that's why I like Pepsi, because the Pepsi plants in Brooklyn and in Canarsie, and it was marketed to us, and like I like Pepsi over Coke, things like that. So I just started to
Wow.
understand that and have an appreciation for marketing as well as art. So
You mentioned Pearl Paint
yes,
and the
rest in peace,
designer
rest in peace, Pearl
markers.
Paint.
That was my
I still have a can from that I
from
got from
Pearl
their old
Paint.
can. This is an old can. This is one of my boss's old cans from back in the day. I still keep it. It still has paint in it. I've sprayed it once or twice. It's not that
Wow.
safe probably, but rest in peace, Pearl Paint.
Yeah, that was my favorite store to go to. Like just to go to each floor, and then the designer markers to me were the best. I
Yes,
used to
they
love,
are the best in the chart packs.
but there was
Those
something
like that
of
strong smell.
the
And I
smell.
mean,
I
I'm a
probably,
Sharpie girl for life.
yeah.
I will never disobey my Sharpies, but when I got into the whole world, like double tips and chisel tips, I was like, whoa. And like you said, you could literally go there and I'm just gonna stay on the
Have,
second floor today, right? And then you just sweep up. and no elevators, just getting that
No,
cardio in, going up,
yeah, 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 yeah.
and
No,
it was a good time.
that
So,
was
and
one of my favorite stores to go to, man. The black
yeah.
books I used to get from there, and the designer markers. I felt like there was like endless amount of colors that they had, and they used to blend so well. Like,
So effortlessly. Even without that like colorless blender, you could still
just
like
kind,
you just
yeah, yeah,
like a spray can, you just had to learn the motion of it. And once you got
yeah.
that, you were solid.
Right. So, um, around, let me see, around what year are we talking about as far as high school?
Oh, okay. So
If you don't
I
mind sharing.
graduated in 2000 from high school. And so
Okay,
I
okay.
went to college that semester. So 2000 I went into college.
2000. Okay.
Graduated high school and went to college that year.
Okay. So how did what part, if any, did the what was going on, in your environment play in your picking up or developing your style, like finding your style as far as when it came to art? Did it
Um
play a part? You know what I mean? 'Cause, for example,
I think being
ha-
in Chelsea helped a lot. I mean, like again, I'm from Brooklyn. You know, I moved around a lot. I lived upstate for a little bit. I
Mhm.
lived in like Atlanta as a kid. Like I did move around a lot as a child. You know, my dad's first marriage, we moved to Atlanta for like 3 or 4 years, moved back to
Okay.
Brooklyn, um, moved upstate, you know, a little bit of the Bronx.
Hmm.
And excuse me.
It's
And
okay.
so I think just like moving around, seeing different people, and then ultimately just being in the city,
Hmm.
I just had that exposure early. And so I think a lot of that influenced, like I said, my family being creatives. And even though I was younger in the 90s, like I had cousins that were older and they were hitting like poetry slams during the
Hmm.
neo soul vibes and, you know, things like that. Um, and just like it was just a different space. I used to live in Midwood for a little bit of time. So I just remember, you know, and then being right near the junction and having that Caribbean
Hmm.
exposure. All my friends were Caribbean. I always said like I'm an honorary Caribbean because all my friends like were Haitian or Jamaican or whatever. And so I just had all that. And then I had Asian friends. I remember chilling up in the Chinese restaurant with my friend because my best friend was Asian at that time. And she would be working behind the counter. We'd be in there doing like eating egg rolls, eating, doing our work. Like it was just a lifestyle and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
walking, you know, into Sheepshead Bay and all that.
Mhm.
And so I think when you have just that exposure, it's just around you and it goes into your subconscious. And so
Mhm.
it doesn't ever hit at an exact time. I think it just kind of collectively starts flowing. And then when you're in a space like college or where you start producing assignments or you start producing work, you just remember all that. You know, even now, like murals that I do are
Mhm.
reminiscence of memories, right, from
Mhm.
older times.
Okay.
I have a mural I'm currently working on here in Harlem, and you know, I have like the hydrant going with the foot in it. Like these are all memories of like my spaces of things that I did as a
Growing up.
kid. That maybe some of these newer kids don't have that exposure to because they're not outside playing in hydrants, like they're going to water parks and stuff.
Hmm. Hmm.
But that was our water park was the block. You know,
Yes,
we
yes,
didn't
yes.
have we got lucky to go to Coney Island, which was great, a train ride away. But if not, we played right on the block in the big park, you know, and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So
Now, did you, around the time, let's say from high school or maybe in college, at what point did you start doing research as far as, artists that might have came, from back in the days? Did you start? Because I'm asking because I see the Keith Haring behind you, for example.
oh right.
So,
Um,
how did you start discovering, the different type of arts and artists?
I think that definitely like probably maybe like towards the end of high school
Towards
to
the end of high school?
college, because I mean I was in Chelsea and then again just learning art history, started learning more about it, and understanding who these figures were, understanding Basquiat, you
Mhm.
know, other prominent, and I'm just throwing those names, there's plenty more people that I love, but um I think it probably started around that time, so maybe like
Okay,
around the 2000s or so. I do remember
2000s.
growing up though that like some of my cousins would have like a t-shirt with it on it.
Right,
But
right.
again, I was young, so I didn't know, you know, like some of my cousins are like maybe 10 years older than me, right?
Mhm.
So if I'm like 8 or 9, they're already like close to 20. So their exposure is what I got when I was in college. So they're out, they're at, you know, they're on Flatbush Avenue, they're in Chelsea,
Mhm.
they're in the Lower East Side, and so they're getting all of that. I did have a bit of time where I was kind of like hanging out a lot in the LES, and so I
Hmm.
got to see some things and I got to do some stuff. And I think all of that started to kind of come in place. And then when I
Okay.
really kind of started tapping into like my like kind of art network, like that grows it stronger, right? But I think
Mhm.
I didn't get as much exposure to it in school. I think it was just really like
Just
everyday events and then just happening on, on its own.
okay. Okay. You also mentioned a little bit of photography. Did you end up doing trying, putting your head into photography a little bit more outside
So
of school?
photography is one of those mediums. I love it and I do it, but it's more of a personal
Okay.
kind of thing. I don't do it really for work. I mean, I have done portrait photography.
Hmm.
I did have a stint. I had a lot of jobs through the years. So I did work at Sears Photo. I did like portraits of kids and
Okay. Okay.
babies and then later on I worked for like school photography companies.
Mhm.
So I had that eye and that demeanor to work with kids to get them to smile and stuff. And then I did do it independently for people that I knew, and I was like, "Hey, I can do your photography." I still have my SLR. I still have my
Nice.
camera from college, my actual film camera.
Oof.
But it's one of those mediums that I haven't found a way to mix it into my current work, like my painting and my drawing. But it's just one of those mediums that I kind of just do for myself.
Okay. 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 So now let's talk a little bit more. At what point do you decide that you're going to pursue and take the art serious and try to find a way as far as, how to make a living?
Get that money, right?
Because
Okay,
yeah.
so I kind of always I learned what I call well my aunt coined this phrase the flat foot hustle. And back in the day my aunt we used to live over I guess it was still Brownsville, but we used to live I used to stay with her for a while and my aunt was a really creative person. Like I owe a
Mhm.
lot of what I do to her and she passed away like about 10 years ago, but
I'm sorry.
she was just like she would get like satin and there was like a flea market on Church Avenue in Brooklyn and she would bring these beautiful pillows and she would sell out. And then we
Mm.
go into Church Avenue and I'm getting a new doll or I'm getting some new sneakers. And so she was always the one to like have a little job, but then like take a break and then just hustle her creative talents. And she was amazing at it. And I took some of that and I remember I remember in like grade school, I used to draw pictures of like Sonic
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
whatever. And I used to sell these drawings for like 50 cents. I used to get $1 for school every day, and it was not enough for me because I wanted extra snacks. I wanted the poppers, like I
Yeah,
wanted
yeah, yeah.
everything. And so, with $1 you could get like a juice and some chips and stuff, but I wanted more money. So that $1 or 50 cents a day was not enough for me. And so I would be like, hey, you want a drawing? And then I remember one kid gave me $3 to draw like on his canvas binder. So I was like hustling like from a young age. 'Cause I learned that from my aunt. When I
Okay.
got older after college, I was gonna go down the traditional route and go like be a graphic designer and all
Hmm.
that. And I did do some jobs for people, but I found a lot more gratitude and also financial gain just doing it myself. And
Hmm.
so I just kind of developed a website and this is kind of where the technology came in for me because websites back in the early 2000s were very expensive, like 10, 15 grand.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
not
yeah.
have that kind of coin right then. And so I learned how to code. I taught myself how to code and I made a little
Nice.
like 1, 2 page website. And it was enough for me. I knew I went and got me some business cards and I just hustled it out and it came off. I was working locally with people that were trying to like I had a realtor who needed
Hmm.
cards. I built her whole corporate identity and that's the stuff I learned in school like how to build corporate identity and brands and that became my niche. And so I did that and then I always tell this story in conjunction with that I started designing on sneakers, right? Kind of like they used to do back in the 80s and 90s.
Hmm.
And I was like, because Nike does some amazing stuff now. These sneaker companies do great. But back then we were getting like blue and white, red and white.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
we
yeah,
made
yeah.
it fresh, but
Just
you
little.
wasn't getting like colors like this. And
No, 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 no. Yeah, yeah. It
so
was
I
kind of
was
basic.
taking it to the sneakers and I was just hooking them up. I started wearing them and people are like, yo, where'd you get those? I'm like, yo, I made them. Like, yo, make me a pair. So I always tell people like it caught on quick. And next thing I know, I'm like, I got another business idea. Let me make another, like a business for it. And so that's where my company, I got Pink Eye was born. So a lot of people, like Crash included, other people
Hmm.
that know me, they know me as my moniker, which is Pink Eye.
Pink eye.
Um,
Okay.
And that came about is because people caught on to my work quick, like they caught it quick. So like how Pink Eyes Infectious, that's kind of how that name. And I developed that company in 2003. And I had a good like 15, 20-year stint with it. It was amazing. In the beginning, it was very local. And I used to go down to 14th Street with my table.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have shoes like the one behind me here, just on
Right, right.
display. I'd have my little book. This was way before digital, right? Like maybe
Mm-hmm.
Blackberries and Sidekicks were out. And so people were just coming up. I give them cards. And then little by little, I had friends that were doing sneakers in the industry, and they would say, "Hey, I'm out of town. Let me go do a show for me." And I started just getting like networking crazy, because my
Mm-hmm.
aunt always said, the flat foot, you got to speak to people. You got to build that confidence. Tell them about yourself. Get that elevator pitch, always down. And because people, you have a quick time span with people, so you
Quick.
got to move
Yes, yes.
quick and just
Right.
tell them what you want to do and what you got and why they need it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And little by little, I just started connecting with different companies. Like there was a group called Female Sneaker Fiend, and it was like
Okay.
women in the industry. And I joined in with the lady from Boston. Her name is Lori, and it was just a bunch of other women. And we grew a collective, and we started going to like sneaker pimps and Dunk Exchange. And I started going to Boston. I started leaving New York, going to other places, Philly,
Mm.
and it just grew and grew and grew and grew. And then to the point where, fast forward a few years ago, I had a mentee, and one of her friends was like, "How do you know Pink Eye?" And she was like, "How do you know Pink Eye?" And she was like, "Oh, when I was like 7 or 8, I used to follow her page. So here it is, like a generation
Wow.
underneath me."
Right,
And the
right.
girl recognized me, like, "Hey, that's that girl Pink Eye." So it was a really interesting time, and it was really cool. Like I started going into stuff. I gained a publicist, so I started doing stuff with like Little Kim and going to different events, and it was started to really grow into this space. And so I had stopped working on traditional canvases. I had stopped doing corporate
Too
identity,
busy.
and I just focused on the sneakers for like a good 10 years. It was a great
Wow.
run.
Now so I mean, you mentioned the publicist, but were you doing everything on your own?
I wasn't represented by any other. The publicist I had was like a family friend that was in
Hmm.
PR, and
Okay.
she took me on as a client, and I got in like books and magazines. Like I was in Slam magazine, um, a few other ones that were pretty popular, and
Okay.
even to this day, I still feel like we're online, but getting in like a magazine, getting in print is like a pretty big
That's
deal.
still at least
It's
I
it's an amazing space. And so I think if you get like in the paper, if you get in a book, that's like around forever, right? Even if you
right, right,
missed a
right.
copy, it's somewhere around. And
I
so
think
I
it
started.
also I'm sorry, I'm just gonna
No,
say
you go
because
ahead.
I also think like there's a certain it might have got cut off at a certain point, but a certain generation and then going back, I think we appreciate still
Right,
what it is like the magazines, the books, and
right,
that
right,
type of media. It was always looked at as like, oh wow, you made it into the magazine or you made it into this book as
right.
something.
Yeah, because I remember like I did something with like VH1 Hip Hop Honors, like when it was like really in the beginning stages. And
Okay,
I remember I was at an event and they were there, and it was at this place called Yume in Brooklyn. It was a really old spot.
okay,
And I was there with my stuff and they took pictures of it. And VH1, back then websites were around. So if you did get on a website, it was still a big deal,
hmm,
right? Because it was like still a newer space. So people, like, I remember going to VH1 and they did the Hip Hop Honors
yeah,
like
yeah,
recap. And
hmm,
a picture of those same Adidas was like front and center.
right
And I
there.
was
Wow,
like, oh my God, I'm on the
nice.
VH1 website.
Yeah,
But I still think, like I said, to this day, there are still magazines around. You can go to the magazine stands, and if you get a publication and you're on the cover or you're on that,
no, it
it's
still
still a pretty
feel.
amazing space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. That
And
feels good.
a lot of, like I said, a lot of people don't appreciate it, but I think like our generation, it's still like a wow, you
It's
made that into
still,
that.
yeah, yeah. It still means something. That's why, um, random question. Did you ever come across paths with DJ Clark Kent?
I ran into him a few times at like the sneaker events.
Yeah.
So outside of me customizing shoes, I'm also like a sneakerhead, if they want to call it that.
I
So I
was
have a pretty extensive collection of sneakers, and I've always been into sneakers since like sixth, seventh grade. So and I would run into Clark Kent at like the Funkmaster Flex show in
mhm.
Jersey. I went a few times there and showed my stuff. Um, never like a super straight intimate relationship, but like he would like give props to like my group, like my female sneaker fiend crew.
Okay.
And he knew a few other people in the group. So It was just like more in passing for sure.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, no,
A
no.
lot of respect always to Clark on the DJ tip and also just the
Yeah,
culture.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know, he
of
definitely was
course.
a prominent figure in the culture and made, people like me to have a space. I always give homage. Like I say, I'm never the originator of like doing shoes or doing art. There's always people before me that created spaces to make it comfortable.
Hmm.
Like when I first came out, I never like showed my face as far as like my work. It was always
Really?
about the shoes,
Okay.
right? The tricky part with that was I had to start going to showcase. I remember like BB King's, rest in peace, BB King's, all these spaces. I would start having shows and I would go there and they'd be like, oh, who's the person? Where's the guy who did the shoes? And I'm like, oh, he stepped away. He'll be back. And I would
Really?
play into that just to see their reaction. And then
Yeah.
eventually they wanted to do interviews. We want to meet the person who did these. I'm like, oh, that's me, you know? So I had to start, they're like, you did these? And so I will say, I think I was one of those more prominent females in the beginning
Hmm.
that really kind of was out there and, just really showing people like art is possible from the ladies, you know?
Wow. Every time I speak to somebody, I had who was I talking to? Bernadette Price,
Okay.
for example, right? And I've and others that I've had the pleasure of speaking to as far as women, and it's always still to this day, there's still that thing about like, oh, you're a woman, it's not possible for you to be that nice of an MC. You
Right,
know what I mean? Or
right.
like, you sure nobody was writing that for you? There's still that to this day, and
There's still like that
a
little bit of
lot,
stigma.
a lot, a
It's
lot.
nowhere near as crazy as it used to be.
No,
Like I
but
said,
it's
I remember when I
still.
first came out, like I was showcasing and
Hmm.
immediately because the market was really full of guys. And so you
Right.
have to have people to break that barrier.
Hmm.
So there's tons of females out now that, are still doing art, custom art, regular art.
Hmm.
And I mean, I think there's always been females in different pockets.
Yeah, yeah.
Some of us kept quiet or we didn't have the spaces to do it. And so someone like me, I just kind of came in and be like, I gotta kind of command it, right? And
Hmm.
yeah, this is my work now. In the beginning, I was like, because I knew about that stigma, I was like, well, just look at the work. I don't care. Like, just give me my money and look at the work. I don't care if you know it's me. But as magazines started to approach me and interviews want to come out, you have to kind of, okay, yeah, it is me. And like, I stand for this and etc.
Right. As far as the sneakers, was there a certain pair of sneakers that you customized that you feel was the one that like really put you out there? Do you remember like was there one particular one that just like everybody was talking about?
Um, wow,
Or
there's
for example, like the one you said that made it into the VH1, like was there one that just was like, man, this came out, everybody saw it, and now it's like nonstop people, hitting me up for
the
sneakers.
Little Kim one was popular, and I think just because again it's Little Kim,
Hmm.
because she was actually holding it. I wasn't in the photo with her, but she was holding it, and
What kind of
um,
sneaker was it?
it was what did I do for her? I think it was an Adidas or a Reebok, and I
Okay.
just kind of it was a light customization, but I remember just writing like the B logo on the tongue and just adding like a royal type of color scheme.
Okay.
Um, there were quite a gosh, it's like I'm going back in time now. Um, there was okay, so there was one. Puma used to do this sneaker that was like a boot. It was
Okay.
called
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Mastro boot.
Yeah, yeah. I
And I
remember.
had did that. Another artistic friend had wore it, and that one was like, whoa, because
Yeah.
I it was like leopard and zebra and purple, and it went all the way up, and we wore it. And then I started doing like when I started doing like high tops and Converses,
Yeah.
people went like really crazy. And
Mm.
I would say that shoe when I did that photo shoot for it, and then started promoting it like on the web and printing it
Mhm.
it started really going crazy. And one of the things outside of my designs that went crazy was really my marketing. Because again, the name Pink Eye, right? It's weird.
Right.
Why is that? But I always tell people like my moniker of did you catch it yet? And then the answer to that question was my website. And that was like the biggest thing. And what really took me to another space was my sticker campaign. So I used to have a sticker and just black and white, no color, no die cut, rectangle sticker. And I on my website, I would say send me your address and I'll mail you stickers. And I mail stickers to Spain. I mail stickers to Alaska, to California, to here, to here. The
And you're
sticker
building
campaign
up
is
the
really what
emails.
pushed it. And then
Okay.
people were like going to the website, and I noticed the traffic after. And then I
Mm.
started getting orders in Spain. I started getting orders in Europe. And I was actually sending sneakers across seas. And that's when I'm like, here we go. We got something
They're
here.
catching it. They're
They're
catching it.
catching it. They
They're
caught
catching
it.
it. Now, all of this time, everything you're mentioning. I mean, I know you said you know things that you picked up as far as going to school,
Hmm.
and you know, but all these ideas, you were just coming up with it. Um, I mean, you were just coming up with this
It was pretty
on your own.
organic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I always tell people pink eye came out when I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom.
yeah.
Like it's it's like really funny moments and
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
it sounds interesting, but how often do we like we're in the shower and we think of something and then we
Mm-hmm,
go we run out the shower with the towel, we're trying to write it out because I think in these unconventional moments is when those
mm-hmm.
things are born. And
Hmm.
I was really brushing my teeth and I was trying to come up with a name for the sneaker thing because I had an art name for like my graphic business, right? But I didn't want to connect it with that. I wanted a separate entity. Kind of like I always said, well, do it like an umbrella, right? Like have a main company and then have
Yeah,
these
yeah.
subsidiaries.
Hmm.
And I remember brushing my teeth and I was like, well, people are catching on to, like I was like having a conversation in my head with myself and I'm brushing my teeth, I'm trying to start my day. And I was like, people are catching on to it quick. And I was like pink eye. I literally like I said it out. I was like, pink eye. I was like, it's contagious. Did you catch it yet? I came up with all of that while brushing my teeth.
That's
Like
cool.
in a
That's cool.
10-minute window of all that. And I finished, I gargled, I went in the room and I wrote it out. And then I went about my day, came home, and I just started brainstorming off that. So I think when you have these moments, like people that are musicians, I think it's like, or different artists. Like, I think
Hmm.
we just always have these moments. We always hear these like funny stories.
Hmm.
Oh, I was taking out the trash and this idea came out because I saw something
Yeah,
on the
yeah, yeah,
street.
yeah.
These are really how these ideas are born, for
Hmm.
sure.
Okay. Any other, you mentioned Little Kim, were there any other artists that people might know that, you know, you might have done some sneakers for?
Um,
Or that you were involved with in some form, you know, as far as with your art?
I did some stuff with I did Just Old Mixtapes Awards. I used to
Hmm.
do I actually did that quite a few years in a row. Um and I did some stuff for the guys from allhiphop.com. I actually was
Hmm.
featured on their website. That was
Nice.
actually one of my more prominent like kind of media
Yeah.
blasts. That was kind of like before the magazines.
Hmm.
And they actually gave me I have the photo still with like the old school all hip hop
Really?
logo on
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and they posted me up on there and I did me and my other friend Fetty, her name is Sneaker Fairy. She did sneakers for grass and I did them for the partner. So we both like
Okay.
showed up with sneakers for both. And then we got photos and that night was great. I met like Grandmaster Caz,
Really?
like a lot of hip hop people and they were like, "Yo, keep doing your thing." And it was a great moment.
So, but you said you guys made the sneakers for them, but was this like they asked you, they wanted sneakers made, or you
No,
guys
I
just
think
randomly?
it was somebody connected with the mixtapes that connected with us.
Okay,
And they were
okay,
like, "Hey, would you guys like to do this? It'd be a
okay.
great." So some things were done as like a media opportunity,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which happens naturally sometimes in the
Right, right.
industry. But the follow up after that was really amazing, and they were really
Mhm.
cool. They were like awesome about it, and things like that. And there was a few other people I can't think off the top of my head. I
Yeah.
probably won't think of them throughout the thing, but that one again was definitely a more prominent. And I used to do, um, I think I didn't do sneakers for him, but meeting him in the spaces. So luckily with the career I've had with that spread out of Pink Eye was like meeting people that I never thought in my life I would meet, right? Like
Okay.
I always say, yeah, I'm doing sneakers and art, but like I'm a child of hip hop, right? Like I'm a child of all of this stuff from way back in the days to now, you
Hmm.
know? And so meeting someone, like Grandmaster Caz or meeting these different prominent people is just like, wow, like I'm in these spaces and they're shaking hands with me and this and that and the third. It was really crazy.
Right. Now, was you mentioned your dad a couple of times. Was he into hip hop or what was your dad into?
My dad's a boomer, so he's like 60s. So he's definitely more like soul
Right,
music.
right, right.
He's a Peabo Bryson guy, you know. He knows hip hop, and I think for me, probably playing it, he
Okay.
always laughs at me about like Timberland beats. I used to play like a lot of Leah.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, that baby in the
That baby.
background, right? So he's always laughing at me about that. But he knows like maybe old school hip hop, like
Right,
Sugar
right, right.
Hill and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of his wife is like really into hip hop, like probably more like 90s Tribe and
Okay.
things like that. So he's aware of it, but
Right, right.
it's not his like first go to. He's definitely more of like a soul guy.
Okay, okay.
Stevie
Now,
Wonder and all that.
yeah, 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 yeah. I love Stevie. You said you about 10 years more or less you stayed within that space as far as the
Yeah, it was
customization of sneakers?
yeah, I had so like when I came out of school, I kind of was just like, I always had like little odd jobs, but
Mm-hmm.
really I had pockets of time, maybe a couple of years where I just did all art, my own art. And then
Okay.
I'd like, okay, I gotta kind of go get a little job, or maybe it's a slow couple of months, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I started that in 2003. I would say it really blew up around 2007
Mm-hmm.
to 2009 timeframe. That's 2009 is when I got my first magazine publication. So I
Okay.
kind of used that as the fuel of like, I'm here, right?
Okay.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
but I was already in other spaces, like doing a lot of stuff. And I would have people come to me like, "Yo, how are you getting these shows?" And I'm like, I'm outside. I was
Yeah.
really, that's the definition of
Outside.
outside to me
Yeah, yeah,
back
yeah.
then was really going up to people. I think one of my more
Networking.
pivotal moments, yeah, one of
Yeah,
my more
yeah.
pivotal moments was when I showed up somewhere one time, and this always sticks in my mind. I went to introduce myself to somebody, and he goes, "I already know who you are," and I
Mm.
was like, "What?" Because I'm a pretty cool, like humble person. I'm not really
Right.
like big in my head about stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
so I was taken back by that. I was like, "Wow, like I'm really working out here. If I'm my
If
my
you're being
my face is
recognized. Yeah, yeah.
showing itself in my
Mm-hmm.
work." And he was like, "Miss Pink Eye," he's like, "I already know who you are." And I think this was like the owner of Ruth Chris back in the day. I went to like
Oh.
an event
Yeah, 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 yeah.
before he had sold the place off, but I had met this brother
Mm.
and he was really cool and he was just like, "Oh, I know who you are." He's like, "Come on in, get yourself a drink." And I was just like,
Nice.
it was like a moment for me. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I
of
went home
course.
that night and I'm like, this is one of those things that stay in. And outside of that, when I met DJ Kool Herc, like I think that was like the icing on the cake. And I met him twice and he remembered me the second time. So
Yeah.
I was like, I had to kind of feel myself on that because I met him at a place called Sputnik in Brooklyn,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the old spot.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to show my sneakers, and this was like my early days. And I remember he was just outside, and I was just like, it's an honor to meet you, sir. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
you are the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, all of this would not have existed. And he just was like, thank you. He was really a cool
He was
guy. And we were
humble.
just kicking it. And then I went like a week or two later, and he was there again. He's like, hey, Miss Sneaker Lady. I was like, oh my gosh. And those moments, those are the moments that probably don't get all the shine, but those are the kind of like celebrity moments that are big to me for sure.
Definitely, definitely. So what did because you say 10 years, but after that, did you leave it alone? Did you stop customizing sneakers
So
altogether?
it was probably a little more than 10 years. I would say like
Yeah.
2003. I kind of went maybe up till maybe like 2012, 13.
Hmm.
I know I celebrated like my 15 year. What had
Okay.
happened was I think it was just the industry changing.
Okay.
And I'm the kind of person like I kind of stay on watch. Like I don't want to always be the person that's like still doing something that's kind of outdated.
It's not
And
really,
not and
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
because I care, but because it's just that means I'm putting in effort in stuff that's just not going to get returned,
Hmm.
right? And so I want to be a creative, but I also have to be smart.
Hmm.
And so during this time, I did get a job. I was working in technology. So I was working for an advertising company and I was kind of doing programming. And so I was still
Okay.
doing my company in this, because I think that's the thing that doesn't get talked about. People feel like you can't have multiple things going on. That's part of like being an entrepreneur and a creative. Sometimes you got to have your hands in multiple things
Hmm.
until one kicks off. And Pink Eye did have a nice wave. But what happened was I was starting to do all these shows and then the demographic was changing, right? Like so now I'm coming like into my 30s now, and there's a whole new group out. And now
Okay.
Nike is doing Nike ID. Like all these sneaker companies tapped into what we were doing and
Yeah.
decided to give you elephant skin in different colors. People weren't really kind of knocking on my door as much, So,
Okay.
and people were inviting me to do shows, but they're like, "Well, you gotta pay like $1,000." I'm like, "I'm not paying $1,000 for a show." And so when you start to notice market changes and you don't want to put money out and lose money, so I
Hmm.
was like, well, I'm gonna start taking a step back. I didn't put as much
Okay.
into it.
Okay.
I had unfortunately got laid off from my corporate job. Like I was working in the ad tech world.
Okay.
And this was probably 6, 7 years ago, maybe. And I had took a job up as an art instructor somewhere. I had a friend who had some family that was opening a new business, and I was like, she's like, you'd be great for it. I'm like, I'm not a teacher. What are you talking about? I'm a whole teacher now, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
but she saw it in me. She was like, no, you have a
Okay.
great personality and people like that. So I tried it, and I was one of the first artists they hired, and it was a spot here in Harlem, and I used to work there, and it was like a new change of life for me, right? It's like I had a lot of people say, "What are you doing teaching? You're not a teacher." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not a teacher like for DOE or nothing, but I said, no,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is a great experience. I'm showing people how to get into a space." And that started about maybe 2017, 2018.
Hmm.
And I did that for about maybe 3 or 4 years. And it was just
Okay.
a space. And I would get hired privately to do events. It was just, I'm like, I'm in a whole new world. So Pink Eye, it was kind of like the fade out of that and then like a change of life and events. And then
Yeah.
now I'm in this new space of teaching.
Okay.
And then I'm still doing my personal art, in the midst of this. That never stops.
Hmm.
And people that knew me was still giving me orders for sneakers
Hmm.
and stuff, but I just wasn't pushing the effort into like the company like the way I was because I just saw it naturally declining. Um, and a few times I attempted to kind of like revitalize the brand, bring it back.
Hmm.
But at this point, people just call me Pink Eye and they just figure it's a part of my style. It's a part of my aesthetic, right?
Hmm.
Um, or like I used to tag with it. Like I had a little group I used to be when I used to use this tag Pink Eye. And that's still like,
Right.
even on my earrings, it's still my name.
Yeah, yeah.
So I
Nice,
still
nice.
use it, but it's not in the sense of like my
A
company before.
business. Okay. Wait, and I mean, is it a possibility that you might do something with it as far as a business, even if it has, like, even if it's a different type, like not the sneakers, let's say, or
I
customizing.
probably will. I always wanted
Yeah.
to make it like a custom lifestyle brand.
Right,
That
right.
really was always the intent with Pink Eye. It was never just custom shoes. It was just like
A
the
lifestyle.
alternate lifestyle, right? Like
Hmm.
the custom lifestyle of like bespoke, right? Like that whole
Hmm.
type of aesthetic I always love because I'm always that kind of person. Like when I go to a burger spot, yeah, I need like 2 or 3 extra pick. Like I always like customization because I like stuff for me,
Yeah.
right? And I think we all do to some extent. Like it's not
Right, right.
a dishonorable thing, but like I would
No.
say I want people to come to me and like have a certain kind of aesthetic with their art, right?
Hmm.
And it doesn't mean colorful and bright. You could be a more mellow tone person. We can cater that to you too. And so that was a way of where I had Erica, the artist, and then I had my brand and Pink Eye. That was just like an alter ego of me, I could
Hmm.
say. So I
Hmm.
still say it's kind of like that because a lot of that still comes out in my art, like my colorful art. You see the sneakers and
Right,
the
right.
painting. It's
Hmm.
still like one in one, so it hasn't left me. But so again, I still have the name, I still have the Instagram, I have a following still on there
Hmm.
that look for me, and I post things from time to time, but I haven't sat with it yet to really like say how do I want to bring this back out. But I have creeped a few
Podcast.
like relaunches to people like, hey, this is we're gonna come back out. And people
Okay.
that were excited. I did a sticker campaign last year and
Okay.
I made the sticker circle now. People are like, hey, we want the old stickers. And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
I was trying to give you something new. But people wanted to attach themselves because I think it was just a feel good brand.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
had
yeah.
people in the service, like I knew friends that went into the army and they had me send stickers to their base camp and they were
Nice,
taking
nice.
with their whole camp. Like I just have these
Really?
photos and
Oh, wow.
it was just a cool space. Like it doesn't matter. People just were attached to the brand because it was attached to me. So
Right, 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 right. Yeah, I mean, I know it's a lot and you have a lot going on, but it might be something cool
yeah, it
to
might be so.
think about.
It's still there. It's still
Yeah,
alive.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I said, it's not in the space it used to be, but it's still there for sure.
Right, right, right. You mentioned the painting you have behind you, the Biggie Smalls, and you have the other one there. Do you have you or do you do work on canvas that maybe you do you have you done like any art shows, art galleries? Do you sell paintings?
Oh, for
What
sure.
do you do as far as in that space?
Yeah, for sure. So um where Pink Eye was on the sneakers, that was like my canvas of that time, right?
Hmm.
And then as I started to leave it, I did emerge back, right, to canvas. I had a lot of friends like Andre Trenner, for instance. Like these are graffiti. He's a legend out here now. But
Hmm.
we used to do sneakers together, and so
Okay.
we kind of had that similar story of like, the sneakers are not enough for me now. I need to work big and canvas. And I had other friends. I used to do a lot of art parties down like Delancey Street.
Okay.
Um, this was like this had to be probably 10, 12 years ago. We used to do a art show, and a lot of artists that are out here now doing murals and stuff like
Hmm.
my peers. We used to do these shows together and just bring a canvas, kind of like Keith Haring and the art parties they used to do back in like the 80s and 90s. And we
Hmm.
would just do like art and they have the DJ there, and things like that. And I started doing a lot of pieces from there, and then from there it grew and grew, and then I started getting more canvas pieces.
Okay.
And so I do work primarily on it. A lot of these pieces are just some pieces that I built in. The comic piece was just a homage to my past. The Biggie
Hmm.
piece is always a Brooklyn piece. I merged
Right.
two
Right.
Biggie drawings and merged it to one. There's a self-portrait behind me. And so people know me for color. Like I love color. I'm a colorful person. And so I always try to express that. Um, but I did about 5 years ago express wanting to paint bigger because I wanted to paint as big as my personality was. And I had a friend, Charlie, who like, he kind of was connected. And I was like, I'm trying to get into murals, like, and like about 6 months later, he's like, hey, E, I got a spot for you. And from there, I've done multiple. I even teach how to do murals now. So it's really an amazing space where
Okay.
like now I went from the shoes to the canvas to now big walls and outdoor, and that's kind of how I wanted it to grow.
Got you. Got cool. Cool. Let me ask. So, n never you. I'm assuming you never really painted a mural. Like I'm saying, before you got into that space, you were working on canvas.
Yeah,
You never
I
did a
may have
mural.
done like one in my friend's. I did like a Keith Haring tribute to like in my friend's apartment. She just was
Okay.
like,
Right.
"Hey,
Right.
paint on my walls," and I'm like, "I'm gonna go crazy,"
It's,
but never like in a committed space or like somebody giving me like a big grant for it or in the community spaces. I never did that,
okay.
and that's what I wanted to do.
Right. Right. Now, but making the transition onto a wall, right? Like a big size wall.
Hmm.
Is it hard going from canvas, to now this huge space? Like, did
No,
it
it,
come
it it
natural
was
to you?
actually pretty. I mean, I think it was a little intimidating in the beginning. So I'm like,
Right.
but again, learning stuff in school,
Yeah.
aspect ratio, all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
You really just kind of take it with the hands and go. Like
Okay.
for me, I think I always had so many ideas to convey.
Hmm.
So working in a shoe or working in this was limiting for me, and I could get a nice piece of art out, but I wanted something like more. I
Okay.
wanted you to see this. I wanted you to feel it. And
Hmm.
so when I
What was
did
the
my
first?
first piece, it
Yeah,
was
which was the
actually a
first one?
tribute to my grandfather.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I did like a Harlem brownstone with my granddad's picture of when he was like in his 20s. Because that's when my
Nice.
grandfather, my family's originally from Harlem. So Harlem and
Okay.
Brooklyn are kind of like in my blood. And
Okay.
so he met my grandmother here in Harlem and that their story began here. And so I
Nice.
painted a picture of him and then I did a silhouette of her. And so when my dad seen it, he was like, "Oh, my dad's back in Harlem." My grandfather's been passed for almost 30 years now, but
Yeah, yeah.
I was very close to him. So me doing that as my first mural was like paying homage to just the space he gave our family, right? And from there, it just went into other spaces. And then, when you do murals outside and people see you work, oh, I have something. Can you come work over here? You get
Mhm.
business that way too.
It kind of like what happened with the sneakers.
Kind of the same way,
Kind of
like
what happened with the
seriously. And
sneakers.
so I had exercised or thought about like, I've done some murals under my moniker, Pink Eye, because I'm like, okay, I want this to be separate. So it's a
Hmm.
fun way for me to be like, hey, I don't want to put this as Erica, but I can like be kind of hidden, right? People who don't know Pink Eye, I can do that. And so sometimes I'll like post stuff on Instagram. I'll post both pages, and people know it's me.
Right, right.
But sometimes I'll have fun doing that. But
Hmm.
for the most part, and so the reason why I went, from Pink Eye, everything was under Pink Eye before at one point, and I was like, let me switch to my name. I want, part of that was because I wanted my last name. My last name is really important to me, like my Purnell last name,
Hmm.
in the sense of family legacy. And so being that I'm one of a few in my family that's really like taken my career and really making a name
Mhm.
outside of doing something traditional. And again, nothing lost. I mean, my dad is about to retire,
Right, right,
working
right.
hard his whole life, but he's always, I told him at 5 I wanted to be an artist. I'm still doing it. He's just like, you got to do this, girl. He's like my biggest supporter. So it's a big thing for me now to be like, I love the Pink Eye name and I still have fun with it, but something about using my first and last name, like that my dad, that's my dad's name, that's my family's name. That's it means a lot to me because I say, regardless if there's another Erica Purnell, people say, "Oh, I know Erica Purnell, that artist."
The
That's
artist.
that's
Yeah,
all
yeah,
I
yeah,
care to
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. Right, 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 right. Nice, nice, nice. That's yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
But we use Pink
So
Eye for some other cool, fun stuff too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no,
I mean,
but I
my
like
dad knows. I mean, my dad loves that name. My dad has showed up at like Pink Eye parties I've had, getting on the train from the Bronx. He lives in the Bronx and just coming down with his little fedora and that's my daughter Pink Eye,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he just has and people who know me, and people like even like Crash, he still calls me Pink. Everybody still calls me, and I'm
Hmm.
cool with that. It's just
Right, of course.
having a
That's part of
professional,
you.
having that
Hmm.
professional thing, and now in teaching. Miss E, Miss Erica. I like the Miss E a little better.
Right,
And I
right.
have little 4-year-olds, Miss E, can I use this red paint? Go for it, baby girl, go for it. And that's really
Nice,
an
nice,
amazing space too.
nice. So you mentioned earlier that you're currently working on a mural in Harlem?
Yes, I'm working. So I work with Uptown Grand Central. This is collective in Harlem, and they do a lot of amazing stuff in the community. They do the murals that we do. This is our fourth installation. So
Mhm.
I've been doing it all 4 years with them. This is my fourth time, and they're having a couple of paint parties throughout the summer where they're revitalizing the area by 124th and Park and Lexington, and just giving the community some really fun, refreshed art. A lot of local artists are involved, uptown artists like myself, and just really beautifying the neighborhood. So
Mhm.
I'm currently working on one now, finishing that up. And then I have another mural I worked on this summer, or this spring, I should say, working on a mural in the school building at a school here in Harlem, and actually working with the youth to like build it with them. And so they kind of learn how to prime and how to use this and how to scale. And it's been a really great process.
Oh, nice, nice. Can you talk a little bit about, like your teaching? So what exactly does that consist of? What are you teaching exactly?
So I teach in a few different spaces. I teach in a few different organizations, but
Okay,
there's one particular that really kind of offset my teaching career, and that's Jamaica Center for Arts in Jamaica, Queens.
okay.
And
And you're all
had
over the
a
place.
huh?
I said you're all over the
I'm
place.
all over the place. I'm all over
Yeah,
the five boroughs.
yeah,
Like I'm
yeah.
everywhere. So
Man.
they I had started working with him about maybe 3, almost 4 years ago,
Okay.
and I was coming in as a teaching artist. So basically just teaching visual arts, drawing and painting, foundational things about shapes and shadows and composition, just like kind of like the fine art stuff. And they were starting me at about 7 years old, and I had opened up the program and said, let's teach them younger. And we start now at 4 years old. So I
Oh
have a group
wow,
I teach from 4 to 7. And
wow.
a lot of their work is just process. They're just learning about
Right, right.
mediums, and they're just having fun and learning the process because every little kid loves art, to
Hmm.
some degree. And then I have a group of 8 to 12 year olds that are a little more refined, and they're learning a little bit more about how to do compositions and how to, show shadow in their work and how to convey feelings, and different things like perspective. And so I'm teaching a little bit more formalities in that. And
Okay.
then what's really cool about that place is that they send me to places like senior adult centers, like where senior citizens over
Mhm.
65 go and like, commune. And so I teach like art therapy with them, and they're learning how to do stuff with charcoal and watercolor and, just having that art therapy using their hands to do stuff. So it's a really an amazing space. So I tell people I'm an intergenerational teacher. I teach from 4 years old to 84 years
So
old. So
84.
no limits on the age.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what's pretty cool is that you mentioned you said why don't we go a little bit younger? You mentioned like 4 and 5, right?
Hmm.
Which you said at 5 years old, your
Right.
dad's, right? And then you mentioned the seniors and the old, and you
Hmm.
mentioned the charcoal, which your grandfather, or was it your grandmother? Your grandfather
No,
that
my
was
my cousin, he did
with
a
the
picture.
charcoal?
He did a picture of my grandfather and
No,
also
no, no,
some other
no.
family.
I thought you mentioned your grandfather, somebody in your family that used to
Yeah, my
draw
cousin, he drew a picture of my grandfather in
with
charcoal.
chalk.
Yeah, when I
Oh,
was younger. So
oh, okay,
again, like
okay.
being
But
exposed to that, and then charcoal actually in college and also high school was actually my favorite medium. Like I
mhm,
have a ton of portfolio work from like 25 years ago that's nothing but charcoal, no color,
mhm.
just the raw.
Just the
Like
chalk.
I love the dirt. I know like crate diggers get dusty fingers from the dirt. I
Right,
had
right,
charcoal dusty fingers, like
right, right,
just from blending with my hands, and I just
right.
love the rawness of capturing raw
Mm-hmm.
emotion with charcoal. It's just quick.
Mm-hmm.
And then in college I learned how to draw
Raw.
fast. So I learned how to
Mm-hmm.
do gestures and just like capture quick motions.
Mm-hmm.
But again, seeing all that as a kid and then working on it as older, again, that's why I say like you're exposed to stuff, and exposing kids to things is amazing. Even if they don't
Mm-hmm.
gravitate to it right then, you never know at what point
Something.
it's going to hit them. So I
In
could be
one way
working
or
with a
another.
4 or 5 year old.
Mm-hmm.
They go off and not do art. They might have a recollection. Oh, I had this teacher
Mm-hmm.
that showed me how to do this,
Yeah.
and it'll sink in later.
Mm-hmm.
I have a student at my place in Queens, and she started with me when she was like 12 or 13, and now she's 16, about to be 17.
Mm.
And her work is just wowing me,
Really?
like wow. And I'm like, where are you getting these ideas? And it's just like she's just like, I don't know. And so it's just coming up, and she might be doing something from a memory or from a show she watched. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so we capture those moments and those we capture what we're doing in those from those moments we live.
Right, 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 right. Yeah, I was just mentioning that because it's really cool how you just said you want to use your name more, right? Your actual name. And
Right,
everything you just said, it all, somehow you're tying in everything that has something to do with you, your family.
right.
And I don't, it
I'm
almost
such
sounds
a
like it
big, yeah, I'm such a
just
big
happened.
thing on like legacy,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I don't have children of my own,
mm-hmm.
right? I'm the fun auntie, right? But in the sense of
That's why they call
my
me
family
Uncle E.
knowing like, oh, that's like Auntie Erica is
Mhm.
an artist, or
Right, right.
my little nieces that are growing up that do art. They come home, oh, we learned about that guy in the book, the guy
Mhm.
with the crown, like, oh, Basquiat. So like I'm showing them early who it
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
and then they're remembering, oh yeah, that's the guy that Auntie Erica told us about. Because I'm just exposing, like, hey, let's do this, let's have some fun. And it's an amazing space when you can expose that to people. And like I said, I remember being exposed to things and maybe not getting onto it right away, but then later on in life, I'd be like, why is that so familiar to me? I'm like, that was that. I can't remember
Mhm.
the day and time, but I seen it
But
before.
something, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
something recollect with me for sure.
Hmm. Um, I mentioned earlier, um, you caring for community, right? Children as well as seniors and stuff like that. You've talked about that. Uh, if you don't mind, I wanted to talk a little bit about you had a certain period of time that you were dealing with some health issues. Um, you know, are you able to talk a little bit about that time period and as far as how it was for you, dealing with, because it was acute. Tell me if I'm saying this correctly. Myeloid,
Yes,
May,
acute myeloid leukemia. Yes.
myeloid leukemia. I'm struggling with that word, but um,
It's okay.
can you talk a little bit about that and how it affected you? You know, everything we've heard about you, you're very bubbly, you're full of life. You know what I mean? You've had you just have a great personality. Um, how was it, when you found out?
Yeah, and thank you for allowing me to speak on it. A lot of people say, oh, you're comfortable, and I'm very comfortable because I think it's as much as we can talk about amazing things and great times, we have to also
Hmm.
reflect on moments that aren't that great because
Hmm.
there's always a comeback, right? And more than it just being like a poetic sense, it's really like a full comeback for me. Like I've experienced a lot of different things in my life that have set me back, whether it's losing an apartment or losing a job, but almost losing your life is a totally different space. And it was a weird thing for me. So this happened back in 2022. Um, and I was coming into my career in Queens, and I remember having a moment that summer saying, I have everything I wanted. Like I'm in my career. I'm not working for nobody else. I'm working fully for myself. I'm working for organizations, but I'm working for me. Like
Right.
I can say yes or no to things, and opportunities were just really abundant for me. And sometimes in those like high moments, that's when those things can happen because there's the things of testing and understanding. I always believe in the space of like spirituality that we're in this life and we go through various tests, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it gets you to another playing field. And so I remember that summer, I was hanging out at the beach and going to water parks and stuff. And then I was working and I had got really sick. And sometimes I suffer from like asthma as a kid. So I always get kind of like sinus infections.
Mm-hmm.
And I had got really sick. And so I went to urgent care and they gave me some antibiotics and I was just getting worse. And I was like, something's not right. I don't know what it is, but something's not right. And I go back to the urgent care about a couple of days later, and she goes, "I need you to go to the ER." So I went to downstate in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
I was staying in Canarsie at the time,
Okay.
and I went there, and they run all this stuff, and then this doctor comes in the curtain and just lays it out that I have cancer, and I was like, "What?" Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't feel like I have it. I don't know what that means,
Right, right, right.
in the sense of, I guess, not being ignorant, but like, I don't know. I didn't
What
feel
you
what I was
supposed?
feeling was
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, I was by myself. So it was like a weird, like, what? Like, I'm gonna die, and something like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then,
yeah.
my dad came the next day and all these doctors are in there. And I'm like, are you speculating? Are you diagnosing me? What's happening? And they sent me to Cornell Presbyterian in the ambulance that night. And I remember getting there, and the doctor sat there. He said, "Miss Purnell, this is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we got to do to save your life." He was very straight up,
Mm-hmm.
like, like I was just like talking to somebody from the block, right? And he's like, "This is what we got to do to save your life." And I'm like, for the first time in my life, I'm a trusting person, but like with your life is a different space.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
to
yeah.
not know what's happening to you and to
Mm-hmm.
have to trust people
Trust
with
some.
your life, like, do you have good intentions? And I'm like, do what you got to do. And I remember they hooked me up to get the medicine, and I started like 7 days straight of chemotherapy. What happened was when you have leukemia, it's a blood cell.
Mm-hmm.
It's your cells, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for leukemia, it's your white blood cells. And what's happening, I always tell people it's like 100 kids playing in a parking lot unsupervised,
Yeah, yeah,
chaotic.
yeah. Right, right, right.
Your body at any given time has about maybe 4 to 7,000 white blood cells, right? That help heal cuts and whatever
Uh-huh.
else. My body had 150,000. So that's the level of, so I had like things on my face. It was crazy. And I had no appetite. It was just like, it just went haywire. And they had to give me the medicine, the chemo to bring it down.
Mm-hmm.
In the midst of that, of course, I lost like 40 pounds. It was a crazy space. I
Can,
was hospitalized for about 3 weeks and
can,
then they got that down. Go ahead, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. No, no, no. You're fine. It's just I want to. So when you went initially, right? Because you
Hmm.
thought sinus infection,
Right.
and then what was the time frame between going in, thinking this is just like a sinus infection, to the time that you're getting the symptoms that you're mentioning, the not
Okay,
eating.
so I got diagnosed officially on November 3rd.
Okay.
I started feeling this like a few days before Halloween. So there's a few days. Maybe like, so I remember I had a Halloween party at my center for the kids and I wasn't feeling good, but I still pushed through because I told the
Hmm.
kid, I promised the kids. And I remember I was like sweating and I was taking the medicine and I just was not getting better. And I remember something like the next day, I was like, I got to go back to I went to an urgent care. So I didn't go to
Hmm.
like my actual doctor. And because I was like COVID, I didn't know what was happening.
Right, because it's
And
close. It's not
right,
that
because
far
we
from
were kind of
COVID,
past COVID,
but
but it was still like 2 years
still
out.
lingering. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I had got COVID before, and it was like
Hmm.
very minor for me. Like it was like a
Hmm.
flu. So
Hmm.
I didn't get it severely. I would say probably about 4 or 5 days from when I felt sick. So I went to the ER. No, I went to the urgent care. Couple of days I went home, I started getting worse. I was getting soup. I had no appetite to eat drink anything. And then I went back and the lady said, please go to the ER. So that was about 4 or 5 days later. And then so like on the fifth day is when I got diagnosed. And then I got officially diagnosed the next day when I went to the hospital
So I mean,
up in Manhattan.
you're talking about within a week
Right,
span, more or
right. Like
less.
less than a 7 day period for sure.
You went from, I'm not feeling too well, sinus or something like that,
Right,
to
right. Because again, I get sinus colds here and there, and so I'm like, okay, I got a little. It started out feeling just like congestion, and then I got fatigue, and I never get fatigue when I get a sinus cold. It's just a couple of Dayquils. A couple of days later, you're good, right? And I started to get really fatigued, and then no appetite. That never happened. So I said something's wrong, and I thought maybe the medicine was wrong. So I went back, and it looked like the woman wanted to say something, but she couldn't make that call. So
hmm
she goes, "I need you to go to ER." So I just
hmm
went to downstate,
I'm
and
I'm just saying
that's
that's fast. I mean,
it's fast.
from what
Yeah.
I understand is
So, but I
that
also don't
does
know. For some
how,
people, they may have a blast of like 50, 60,000, right? They catch it quicker. Mine just kind of, I think maybe that first time I felt sick, maybe it started getting higher and I didn't
how
clock it right away, right?
hmm
And then it took it to get extremely. And then so once I got to Weill Cornell, they hooked me up and they started the process. And, I went through everything. I lost my hair.
hmm
I went through a lot of, and for me that was big. I always had big curly hair,
right, right.
and I was always attacked. People like know me just for my hair, so to not have it, and not that that's the only thing. My health was important, but um, so I came out, and then again, I'm learning about this because unfortunately for me, I always associated leukemia with a childhood cancer. I never knew
hmm
adults could get it. So again, this is just unfortunately it's just my experience. Nothing,
Yeah,
nobody in
yeah,
my
yeah.
family ever had it. I
hmm
never had friends, so it wasn't ignorance, it was just I didn't have the exposure,
You didn't know? Yeah,
right? And the
yeah, yeah.
experience to understand it. And so it
hmm
took for me to have it to really, what is
Understand
this?
it.
And I avoided like Google and stuff because I didn't want to go down any deep dives.
hmm
I tried to listen to the doctors and just explain for them to explain to me, like, please tell me straight up everything. I don't need any sugar coats. I need it straight up.
Right.
And there's an amazing team um, up there at Weill Cornell Presbyterian. There's an amazing team. Um, they basically were like, "Hey, you got this. We got the numbers down, but you still have it. It's like
hmm
microscopic." And they had to do a bone marrow biopsy. I don't know if you're aware of what that is,
hmm
but for a lot of people who have either like a spinal tap,
hmm
basically have to go into the marrow and they have to crack the bone and get specimens.
Yep.
That's where it starts with leukemia. It starts in the bone marrow
hmm
because your white blood cells come from your marrow, your bone.
hmm
So they have to check that because that's the source. And so they were talking to me and like, okay, well, we got this, but your next step of treatment is a stem cell transplant. I'm like, well, what the heck is that? And
Yeah.
so they explained to me, well, you get a donor, that will donate stem cells from their blood and give them to you, but we have to wipe you out. So basically, you are like resetting your body, right? And I was just like, well, can I just heal this naturally? You got it down. I went through a lot of like, can I just treat it like naturally? Can I just leave it alone and ignore it? Can I live with this microscopically and not come back? They're like, well, you can, but it can grow back, and then the cancer can go to another part, and you could have
hmm
a different cancer, right? So, so now timelines are fast, right? So November, I get out on Black Friday. I was there for Thanksgiving. My friend, Thanksgiving Day is like the day I got my appetite back. I was eating again.
Thanksgiving Day.
So they
Nice.
actually said while I was in the hospital, we have a donor for you. And I'm thinking, my blood or my ancestry is very ambiguous, right? Like I'm like, I guess triracial or whatever.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
different ethnicities involved with me. So I'm thinking they're gonna probably take forever to find somebody to
Find a
match.
donor.
They're like, well, we got somebody for you. And I'm like, well, that was fast. And they wanted to move on it. And I was like, can I miss Thanksgiving. Can I enjoy the holiday at least and do this like after my birthday's in January. So I'm like, well, can
Okay.
I just have Christmas and spend time and then I'll come back after my birthday? And they're like, okay, but you got to keep coming for your appointments and blah, blah,
Right,
blah.
right.
Okay. So you keep going every week. Birthday comes. I got diagnosed on my 40th birthday. I'm now 43.
Hmm.
So when I turned 41 is when I had the transplant.
Okay.
So it was a week after January 17th, a week after my birthday. I went into the hospital and I had the transplant on the 24th, so 20 days after my birthday. It's not a surgical thing. It's literally, I had a chest port, kind of like how some different cancer patients get their treatment.
Hmm.
And they feed you the medicine, and it's like a 20-minute IV drip kind of thing. So
Right, right.
they get the donation, they fly it in an airplane fast to you within the hour, and then it's in you in 20 minutes. And then that's the easy part. It's the recovery part that's hard. So
Mm.
again, you got to think about it. I had to go through another round of chemotherapy. This is stronger now. So it's literally killing everything in me to get ready for the new donation of stem cells I'm
Okay.
getting. So you're killing all my blood type, you're killing my cells inside, and then you're giving me new ones. So your body needs time to recognize this is
Yeah,
not
yeah.
foreign. You
Right.
also can develop a disease that can attack it. It's a lot of other elements involved. And then on top of that, I was diagnosed with Graves' disease. I don't know if you know what that is. It's an autoimmune disease from like your thyroid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I never had it, and they think that the transplant cured it because I don't have it anymore. So it was a lot of stuff going on
Yeah.
at that time. So 2 years ago, I had the transplant, um, and you have to basically once you get it, your body goes through changes, and you can develop things. Like I did develop some other not diseases, but like complications, I
Hmm.
would say.
Hmm.
So I had to go hospitalized a couple of times. Um, and once, they work you through that, I was on like steroids. There's a bunch of different things. But all in all, little by little, like every month it would get better. And then in the fall of 2023, September, I was diagnosed as in remission. So I was fully away from me. So I have been in
Nice.
remission. This September will be 2 years I've been in remission, and I just celebrated my second rebirthday. So
Yeah.
after the first year, they call it your rebirthday because
Right,
you're
right.
like born again, kind of. Some of
Right,
the
right.
nurses don't care about that, but it's just a nice way for you to reflect on your
Yeah,
journey
yeah,
and what
yeah.
you've come through.
Right,
So
right.
I made a commitment to myself every year to get a
To
little
celebrate.
cake. Like my first year, I did a smash cake like little babies do, and I put a
Yeah,
one and I
yeah,
smashed it. And
yeah.
my second year, I just made a small cake with a two. And then just try to reflect on, ultimately. So I have done a couple of things with some organizations where like doing like a bone marrow drive, like
Hmm.
swabbing for the donor registry. I have kind of spoke out at people like how important it is for people of color to donate because the numbers for people that may develop this and then for them to get a donor might be low because a lot of people don't swab. And so what happens with a just educationally, how you get on the registry is they swab your cheek
Hmm.
and they put it in, and then that's how they can tell that you're a match for a different blood type.
Okay.
My donor, her story is very interesting, and I'll keep it short, but she had donated, she's a couple of years younger than me, but she had swabbed when she was in college because her friend passed from cancer. So she wanted to get on the registry to help somebody in the future. Mind you, this is 18, 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They contacted her a few months before I needed a donation to have her reswab to update the registry. Then it turns out she gets an email. Hey, we found you a donor. Are you still interested? Now, mind you, it's been 18, 20 years.
Yeah,
People
this
have different lives from when they do it. And this girl was like front and center. Like, I'll
wow.
do it. Now, what happens is, as the recipient, you don't know the donor. Like
Right,
they
right.
keep it private.
Hmm.
So you have to wait a year. So if you survive the first year, then they will release your information and you guys can connect.
All right.
So she did mail me and email me, and the nurses would come in with like it blinded off, and she would say, happy 100 days. And she was very
Nice, nice.
encouraging.
Yeah.
And then she actually comes to New York for work. So last September, we actually met up and we met in
Oh,
person. We have
wow.
photos, and I have
Yeah.
her phone number. We have
Yeah.
our Instagram. We stay connected on Facebook. It's pretty amazing. Her
Nice.
family's like, you're like our long lost daughter, extra daughter. So it's really cool. It's really amazing.
That's nice. That's nice. Well, first of all, congratulations. I'm glad that everything worked out the way it did for you. Um, I'm still amazed at the fact of how fast that was happening
It was a really
because
fast. It
well, what I'm saying
when
is
I say this
if you missed some time of going to figure out like why am I not feeling well, I don't, you know what I mean? Like
right, right.
because that
And
you
and
know
like I said, what if I had I like I said 2 or 3 days in, I'm like, because usually I'll take antibiotic and like day three you start
yeah
feeling better
right
because it's not my first rodeo with sinus colds, right? But I said this isn't working. I'm actually
something's not
feeling
right
worse.
right
And then I lost my appetite and I'm
mm-hmm
super tired. And I'm like, I never get like this with a sinus cold. So I'm like, oh my God, do I have COVID? And I live with kids. I didn't want to
mm-hmm
get, I didn't want to be contagious.
right
And so I called and I said, this medicine you gave me is not working. And she's like, well, come in.
they didn't come
And
in
when I
like
went back, she was just
mm-hmm
like, I need you to go to ER. She
mm-hmm
just like she could feel something, but
mm-hmm
she can't say nothing.
yeah
And then when I went
Well,
to downstate, they checked everything.
mm-hmm
And then that's when it happened. And I mean, everything from initial treatment, going home, going get the stem cell, like, and in between all that, it was like small moments of recovery, right?
mm-hmm mm-hmm
There were some other tragic things. Like I had a car at the time. I just finished paying off the year I got sick. Somebody crashed it, so now I have no wheels, and I'm like, I can't and what happens with the stem cell and the process of chemotherapy is you become immunosuppressant.
mm-hmm
So I can't be in big groups, so I can't
mm-hmm
teach now, so I was really devastated that I can't live my purpose in life and be around people. I can only be around one or two people, and if
mm-hmm
that. So it took a long time for me to be around groups of like 10 people. And
right
so I kind of grew like a bubble girl, bubble boy
mm-hmm
mentality.
mm-hmm
And because I'm so bubbly and stuff, I kind of became like anxiety. And I'm like, that's not me. So it really grew me into a different person for a while.
now. Can you talk brief? I mean, I'm saying briefly because I've had you on for a long time and I feel bad. But
No, you're fine. This is
uh,
amazing.
um, uh, how how did you deal with um, the situation that you were going through? How did you deal with it mentally? Like meaning, like for example, you said when you're doing the chemo, your hair that was a big part of you, right? It's a part
Right.
of your personality. Makes you feel, like it's not me really. How did you deal with everything mentally? What did I I don't know if you're familiar with Mike Hands.
Hmm.
Are you familiar with Mike Hands at
I know
all?
the name. Yeah,
You know
yeah.
that? Okay.
Okay.
He went through, he has a situation that he went through and he explains and everything. And there was a lot of that of how do you deal with this? How do you stay mentally sane? How do you not fall into depression?
Right.
How do you keep yourself motivated to fight the fight and stuff like that? Was there anything in particular that helped you?
Um, surprisingly, I didn't do any art. Like you would think that would be the
Mm,
time. I just wasn't inspired at that
okay.
time. It was the first time in my life I had to really like stop.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it again, I'm a spiritual person. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
go to church actively like that.
Right,
But
right, right.
in a sense of spirituality and connecting like with a God on a one-on-one,
Mm-hmm.
like I was in the hospital, I had family and friends come visit, but like it was just me in that
Mm-hmm.
room. I remember having some pictures of a grandfather up. I had like my ancestors up,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just me and God one on one. I have nothing I could, nothing in the world was just this right now. And I did bring my art. I bought like I remember the first day I came in for the stay. It was like a 6 week stay. And I had like they were like, "Are you moving in?" I had like all these bags of paint and then like my suitcase, because they invite because you have your own suite so that you could bring
Mm-hmm.
food and stuff. And people were bringing me stuff, but I had brought, my little almond milk. So I'm like, "Oh, I'm vegan. I don't do that." And but mentally, it was so much going on. I don't think I even processed it, right? Like, and I think I was just going. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm getting up this morning, I'm getting in the cab, going to the doctor. Like, mind you, I'm in Brooklyn, so I'm going to Manhattan for treatment.
Right.
So it was just like that was it. And I would come home and I maybe play a video game. I would be on my phone, but I wouldn't really.
You,
And I'm looking back at it, and I'm like, I didn't really have like a outlet or a vice. Like I would go for walks or do something, but I think I was just really in it so quickly and I just had to deal with it that I didn't have time to reflect on how sad I was or how much this hurt me.
Mhm.
Once I got like in a space of being better,
Mhm.
I think I had moments where it just fell on me and I just started crying. And it would like, and I would have a good day, but I'm like, I just got really emotional because I think it was just like do, 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 do. You know, sometimes we're in the mix and you don't have time to think. And I
Yeah,
really
yeah.
was like that for about a year and a half. And it was just no time to feel, just deal. And what I did was just keep my spirit in me. Like I kept a little bit, like I had my days where I brought, like, I remember bringing my music
Mm.
and the doctors, the nurse would come in and have to give me my chemo. And I'm like, what you want to hear? And it was a younger kid. He's like, I want to hear some Drake. So I put passion fruit on and he's like, I never gave a patient chemo while listening to Drake. This is crazy. And the nurses would come and I'm like, what you want to hear? She wants to hear Roberta Flack. So I started making like little playlists.
Playlist.
And I did have music and
Yeah.
I think I kept that because it was just like bringing in happy moments. And
Mhm.
I think, I just kept conversations like with my dad going. We were Skyping when he couldn't come to the hospital. Friends of mine would Skype me, call me. And some people showed me things that weren't as pleasant. So I had to learn a lot about people, and I did have angry moments, and I was
Mhm.
angry at people, angry at things, angry at what was happening, why was this happening. I had a lot of people who just were very bewildered that this happened to me.
Right.
Like I reflect more now that I guess I'm more in a normal space again.
Mhm.
But I had a lot of people say, not you. You can't have this. You
Right,
like
right,
because
right.
of who I am and what I've shown them. And it was a devastating thing. So they don't people don't attach that kind of stuff to me.
Mhm.
They attach, oh, Erica's a light and
Yeah.
E is a vibe. And
Right, right,
when
right.
I do my parties, I'm dancing, I'm this. So I show that, exude that to people. And so when this devastation came and they were like, no,
Like
like
it didn't make
I had
sense.
literally people say like, I couldn't follow you because I couldn't see that. I couldn't see you without your hair.
Oh,
And and I got angry at that. Like,
yeah,
how
yeah,
dare you? Like, I didn't ask for this. But
yeah.
my dad said one of the most amazing things to me. He goes, some people like I say, if somebody told me that, I'd be calling them, how you
Mhm.
doing? This and this. And he goes, well, that's your gift. That's who you are as a person. Some people doesn't mean they don't care, but he says, some people just don't know how to
Yeah, yeah.
process that
It's
and deal
hard.
with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then it made sense because when people started saying like not you, and I'm like, it's like a bullet, it don't got a name. It can happen to anybody.
Hmm.
But I think just people in a sense of like I'm gonna be funny and say branding, it didn't go with my brand. Having cancer didn't go with my brand. I was
Yeah, yeah. But you know what it is too is that, sometimes, we don't know this because people don't just come out and say like, hey,
right,
like I live through you in a certain way,
right,
or
right,
when I see you, it brings me joy or happy, or it keeps
right,
me, not everybody says that to you. They just do it, right? They just look and
right,
see, and it
right,
makes
right,
their
right,
day.
right,
So some people just don't know how to when something affects that thing or person that they are used to, I guess, making them feel good.
right,
Some people, their way of dealing with it is maybe they feel like if I don't see it, if I don't,
right.
I keep this in my
And I
mind of
had
what I
to and I
know.
had to come into that. Like at
Yeah,
first, it was
it's
it was
weird,
weird to
but
me
hmm
because but then I understood it. Like I wasn't angry at it. I had to make my peace with it. And having luckily good people in my life that can be, because of course I'm every right to be in angry spaces and upset.
of
But
course,
one I actually did not allow that to bring me where it could have because I've seen it. Like,
right,
and
right, right.
I've had other people, I've seen AIDS, I've seen cancer in very
Hmm.
close friends and family. I've seen it. I've been around it. I've been around uncles that had dialysis.
Hmm.
Like I've seen a lot of stuff at a very early age. And I even watched my grandfather die. So for me, it was like I watched him when he had his heart attack, how he fell. I was right there. And so I think being exposed and all that again just gave my heart and my spirit just
Some
like the
fight.
armor. to just
Hmm.
kind of deal with what I had to deal with. And it doesn't mean I didn't cry and I didn't have moments of
Right,
depression and
right.
I wasn't sad. Of course that happens. But the vow I made with myself is don't lose yourself in this.
Hmm.
And everybody that, when I tell them that, they're like, I saw that you did that. Like, I
Right.
remember being in the room, and remember I told you I brought my art stuff, but I
Hmm.
didn't, I had a, this is how much I was a little disconnected. I actually took a commission after my diagnosis because I'm like, well, I got to keep the money flowing. So I remember I took a commission and I brought the commission to the hospital.
Wow.
Had no energy to do it. I finally finished it,
Yeah, yeah.
once I got home. But I remember like, and I remember
It's
the
just your
guy was
mind. Yeah,
like, he
yeah,
saw my page and he was like, I didn't know, like, I wouldn't have given this order. I'm like, it's okay. Like, it helped me get through it because the woman had passed away. For some reason, I connected with her spirit while I was
yeah.
painting.
Hmm.
So it was one thing I did. What I did do in the hospital was I had some, like, that brown craft paper that's on a roll,
Yeah, yeah.
and I stuck it on the closet doors for like where you store your stuff.
Hmm.
And I had Posca markers, paint markers, and I had made everybody that came in like sign it for me.
Okay.
And I had like my doctor signed it, all the nurses, friends that came, my brother wrote a Bible verse on it. And
Nice,
so
nice,
every year on my anniversary, I take it out and read it. And it
nice.
was like everything like you're gonna kick this ass, you're gonna
Yeah,
do
yeah,
all this
yeah, yeah.
stuff. And I read it and I keep it. And I was like, I would love to start a program maybe with people in the hospital that connects art to healing, right? Where they can kind of get, because I see people bringing like signs and stuff, but I'm like, if you have
Hmm.
like a rollable mural that you can tag, your
Hmm.
family can tag it, you can roll it up, put it in the closet, and every year you
Preserve
can
it. Yeah.
reflect on it, it would be an amazing stuff. So that's something I'm trying to work on because this point now in my career with my art is really like advocacy too.
Hmm.
And not just with what I had, but with any type of treatment, because I
Hmm.
think, like I said, I had to really stop for the first time in my life. I'm always a go, 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 go person, right? And that's the energy and stuff I have. But for this, I had to really feel what I was feeling. I
Take a step back.
had to
Yeah, yeah,
take it
yeah.
in and I had to
Hmm.
really just deal with it. There was nothing else to do. I couldn't hide from it. I couldn't run from it. I mean, maybe I could ignore it, but like I was in pain. Like I remember crying to God, like I can't take this pain in the hospital bathroom. Like there were moments of despair and distraught.
Right,
And so
right.
it this happened and I tried to keep this that you see, the bubbly, I tried to keep it as much on the surface, not so much fake, but some days I had to fake it, like fake it till you make it. I had to
Right, right,
kind of
right,
just
right.
get through the
To
day.
get through the day. Right, 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 right. So coming, um, how did it affect you? Once everything was said and done and everything was resolved, and you're kind of back to your normal, going back to your work and everything like that. Did anything change? Did anything change with you?
Yes,
Things
a
that
lot.
maybe that
Not
maybe
a
you took for
lot.
granted before,
I
or
think, surprisingly, some stuff just kind of picked off where I left off, which was kind of nice.
okay,
There was a lot of people, like actually my job at Jamaica Center, they held for me. They had a replacement person come in,
or and they held the
but they
spot.
told me as soon as I'm better. And I think like that fall of 2020, 2024 is when I fully came back, that last year. And then I did spring of this year. So I've been back a full year. But they had a replacement teacher come in for like some, because when I had left, it was like almost at the middle of the fall. So they had somebody come in for that full year. And then I came back actually in the spring and then the fall. So they held the director at the time was like, remember I called him. I was like, I need to have an uncomfortable conversation with you. I need to
Right,
know, like, is this job going to be waiting for me or do you need to move on? He
right.
goes, Erica, heal. The job is yours. We just got the replacement teachers now, but those guys know when you're ready, the job is yours.
Right, right.
And they welcomed me back with open arms. And then I have a couple of other organizations I work with, and they were just ecstatic, like, "Oh my God, E's back."
Nice,
So I'm back,
nice.
but with some limitations now,
Okay.
I still had issues with like being in groups, and I had to learn for myself. And this is one thing I think I needed to work on anyway, was like knowing my boundaries and limitations, right? So now I have a health issue attached to it. So I really can't play no games out here. So it
Okay.
was more like openly expressing to people, hey, I can do this for you, but this is what I need now. I need you to make sure I have enough space between people. I need to make sure I have a place to sit down because I'm still recovering. But I want to get back out there. I want to do my stuff. But and they were like, no problem, but I had to learn my voice and really speaking up for myself in a positive way, not in a negative tone,
Right,
but
right, right,
and
right.
not that I never did that before, but I would always be I'm one of those people sometimes I overbook myself or
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do because
yeah.
I love to be involved and sometimes I have to be like, no. And some people will say have a great opportunity. I'd be like, I can't do it, you
Mhm.
know? And I would before it would break my heart. Oh my God, but now I'm like, I'm sorry, here, give it to somebody else
Yeah.
and I gave it away gracefully. And in return, my health got better, and then I was able to take another opportunity. So
Mhm.
I've always learned like you never have to be greedy and hold on to things, right?
Mhm.
Like always a pay it forward type of person. I've always been that way since I was doing sneakers, since I was in college.
Right,
Like
right.
opportunities would always present themselves to me. And I've always been blessed in that way. And I've always recognized that and
Okay.
always, spiritually give God the glory in that I'm blessed with opportunity. But sometimes I have to learn to turn it away because it's my health or it's just not a good space for me. So I would
Right.
say, hey, I have another person that can do this for you. And in return, people would appreciate that. I learned how to say I don't have the space to help you right now,
Hmm.
but in the future. And then they remember that and say, hey, I have
Come back
another opportunity. And
sometimes.
I'll be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
now I can work with you.
Right, right.
And they appreciate that. And so I always build my network. I have a lot of peers in we're all doing our thing. And I'm like, we all get our money. Like, I don't have to hold money. Like, you don't get money.
Right.
We all get our bread out here. It's no problem. So I
Nice.
learned really the power of no, but in a positive way,
Hmm.
right? Like knowing no, that's just not going to work for me. I'm sorry, I can't help you. And give you that space so you can cover yourself to get somebody else to do it. And that's been amazing for me. I think it's helped me just with my personality. I've learned to find my voice again. I've had people in my life that help me do that
Right, right.
that say, we'll speak what you need to, do
Hmm.
and stuff. Cause I always want to help everybody, like I
It's
love
in
people. I'm
it's in
such a
your
people, like
nature.
my heart is literally on my sleeve. So
Yeah, yeah.
I love that, but I have to understand even me.
Hmm.
Yes, E has limitations too. And sometimes I need to just like sit in the bed and relax. Like, and I'm still recovering. Like I'm not 100% yet, right? Like there's still things. I still go with my checkups and stuff and you know, bring it back to the health space, with this recovery, they keep a watch on you for like 5 years because things can happen,
Things could change. Right,
right?
right,
Like,
right, right.
it can be something else. Like I
Hmm.
remember back in May, I was sick the whole month of May and I was like, what the heck? Luckily, it was nothing attached to that,
Hmm.
but I had got two viruses at the same time. Like common cold viruses, but I had two at the same time. So I was literally sick the whole month of May, like coughing, mucus, and
And then I'm
it
sure
just I had to just sleep it off. I had to really just let it run its course. But part of that is me rebuilding my immunity up, right?
Mhm.
And exposing myself to stuff and getting better and building that strength with it.
But I'm sure the minute you get something, your mind, even if it's for a split second, is like, is this just a regular cold or is
Right. No,
something
no.
going
It,
on?
it, it gets tricky sometimes. I'm
Right?
like, what is
Like
this? And
now,
I'm at the point now where if like, and I think I went to I had a checkup and I'm like, can you swab me? Because something's wrong. Like, and they said, oh, you just got the cold. They
right.
swabbed me quick. But I built such a relationship with that team that I remember there were days I was in so much pain and you go to the doctor and they had a hotel that you stay at next to the hospital. I was staying there for a
Okay.
couple of weeks because I was recovering from something else. And I remember showing up and cutting the line and I'm like, I was in tears and I'm like, I need help. Somebody
Yeah,
has to help me.
yeah,
I don't know what to do. And they're like, Miss Purnell, come on. So that place has seen me at my worst and my
yeah,
best.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
whenever they see me, I come in with my hair. They're like, "Oh my God, Miss Purnell, your hair got so," and they like, "You look good. You gained a little weight back, And but they just say, you know what though? They say your spirit. You always kept a good personality because they will always help me because I know what their job entails. They're dealing with people that's cursing them out every day. I'm not
Yeah,
that
yeah.
person.
Right, right, right.
Your life is hard enough just as a receptionist or as the
Hmm.
nurse. So I'm gonna try to be as pleasant as possible through this process. And in return, it worked for me because when I had those moments where I was like despaired out,
They were
and I
there for
mean
you.
like crying and like holding my stomach, and like they were like, come on, let's get you help. Let's,
Mhm.
because they were like, she doesn't ever ask. She needs it, you know?
Mhm.
And that team, again, always amazing. And so part of that, what I'll speak about quickly on this real
Mhm.
quick is I didn't share it right away, right? So
Okay.
when I got diagnosed in November 22, I was pretty quiet about it till my birthday. I actually used my 41st birthday when I posted, because my birthday is a big deal to me. I love my birthday. Like it's a
Yeah,
national
yeah, yeah.
holiday. My dad always said, don't ever work on your birthday. You take the day off. It's your
I
day.
do the same thing.
365 days
I
of the
do
year,
the
it's your
same.
day. So I live by that.
Yep,
And
yep.
he does too. I'm happy for that.
I'm the
But
same way too.
right, like it's your day. You want to stay in bed
Wait,
all day, it's your day.
you said yours is the 17th of
No, my
January?
birthday is the 4th of January.
I'm the 18th.
Oh, so you're a Capricorn too? See,
Yeah,
I just had
yeah,
this
yeah.
conversation with somebody I work with. Capricorns always know Capricorns.
Always, always.
So even if we don't talk about it right away, I'm like the energy's there.
Yeah.
But you're on the cusp, so you got a little
Nah,
Aquarius
I
energy
still
coming
got
on
it
you,
though. I
right?
still got it.
But yeah, so I had got sick, and again, I usually post. I'm pretty, like I said, I'm
Mhm.
open with my life. I share, things on Instagram. I didn't want to share this. It
Mhm.
was a little detrimental to me, and I just needed to deal.
Mhm.
For some reason, my birthday, I decided to open up about it. And I
Okay.
made a birthday post and I showed pictures of me with no hair. Because people saw, like, my hair has been like this since I was 40, like blonde and short.
Yeah.
But people saw me with wigs, like, oh, your hair's growing back. I'm like, only if you knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't expose anything. And so I showed me in the hospital with, and they were like, people were like,
Like what happened?
jaw on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was like the outpour was like, oh my gosh, like thank you for sharing. And then what happened was the reason why, because I didn't have any familiarity around me.
Hmm.
So I didn't know what to do. Like that's why support groups of people going through things are very important.
Okay.
So if you're dealing with any other issues, it's medical or you're dealing with something you grew up with, like
Hmm.
you need people that understand you, right? Like you can have
Right. Right.
support from people. Like my father was amazing. I had friends, but they didn't
It's
know
not
what
the
I was
same as somebody that's
feeling.
going through it. Right.
Right.
Right. Right. Right.
I would share things with my dad and he's just like, well, I want to protect you. And I'm like, I just need to vent how I'm feeling. I don't want you to
Hmm.
do anything, but he wants to fix something because he's my dad, right? Or friends would want to do something. I'm like,
Yeah.
I just need an outlet. I needed a community of people that understood how I felt.
Understood. Hmm.
So I said, well, if I share it on Instagram, maybe I'll get that community. Maybe somebody, and it
It
actually
worked.
did. What happened was people that were in the sneaker world,
Hmm.
people I knew from high school.
Right.
Like there was one brother from high school who had lung cancer the year before. So we're rapping. He's sharing like, yo. He goes, I didn't tell anybody online about my stuff. He goes, it's very really brave of you. I said,
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
looking for a community of people. I didn't even know he had that. Then I had another brother in the sneaker world. He said he had it when he was 16. He's older than me by like maybe 10 or 12 years. And he allowed me to call him. He's like, whatever you need, because he understood like I was just like I was searching.
Hmm.
Luckily, the hospital did give me like a peer person that went through it like 2 years before.
Okay.
And me and her still talk. She's from the Bronx. And like it was important for me to get somebody like from New York because I'm like, I could get somebody in the Midwest, but you know what it is to be a person in the city. Like we move different out here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
lady, she's a little couple years older, but she's from the Bronx, maybe Italian girl from the Bronx, but she gets it. Like we city folk get each other, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so luckily I was like, yeah, I'm just like I'm dying to get back to my life. And she was like, you gotta relax,
Slow
like
down.
you gotta just go through this and you will get there. Everything, like I remember me and my dad were in the hospital talking about so much stuff, like you get your new apartment, you gotta get stuff. And I was just like, I was so despaired, like nothing's gonna happen. I'm
Right.
not going to have the teaching career. Everything I worked for is going to go away. Everything, if not the same or better, is here,
It's here.
right?
You get your car back?
And I had to believe in it.
Did you get your car back?
I got a new car.
You gotta
I
go
got a
ahead.
hoopty for a little while. I
Right,
will
right.
say I did get like a hoopty, and my dad and other people were like, that car's a little old there, Erica. I said, look,
It's a
we
car.
worry about cash flow right now. I
Mm.
just need something to get me to A to B. And I held that car for about a year, and then I got another car. So, and it's bigger for all my art supplies, so it's better.
Nice, nice.
But you can't see stuff in the moment, right? You can only hope it'll get there, right?
Mhm.
But in time and in spaces. So me advocating for that was number one for me to find a community, which I found. I found peers, I found new friends, I
Mhm.
found support groups that would do memes, and I'm like, that's exactly how I'm feeling. Like it's like it's almost like I say it's like that cartoon character Daria or like Wednesday Addams. It's a very dark humor
Yeah,
when
yeah,
it
yeah,
comes
yeah,
to
yeah.
this. Like,
Hmm.
and I would say things and people would be like, I'm
Like, why
like,
are you
I can
joking
say
around
that.
like that?
Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
fine. It's what I went through. Like, it's an
Right.
experience. And so I'm a humorous person. So, and I think culturally, New Yorkers and just black and brown people, we find humor in dark
And the
places. Like,
weirdest thing, yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
part of our healing
It's a
process, right?
coping
And so
mechanism, yeah.
I found spaces online that I was like, now I'm getting here.
Mm.
And those spaces helped, because because I had to allow my friends and family to be who they were. I couldn't expect them to be like therapists and, and stuff. And so I told myself I would seek therapy and try to do something. I haven't done it yet. And I feel like it's something I will
Okay.
attain to, but there's no time limit really, right? Like when you go through experiences, like you have to find that common moment where you're like, I'm ready to
Hmm.
deal with this, right?
Right.
Part of me was getting over it, kind of getting back a little bit to my life. And now that I'm in it
Hmm.
and things are healthy, like everything around me is, like I said, it's pretty similar to how it was before with some minor things that are a little different, but some things feel familiar,
Okay.
I look familiar. My hair, like I see pictures
Right,
of
right,
myself from 3 years ago, and I'm like, I kind of look like that girl, but I look a little different.
right. Hmm.
Um, He was, oh, you lost a lot of weight, da, da, da. And I'm like, yeah, of course that happens naturally with the process, um, but my spirit, like, is probably more gracious, and I have more faith than I ever had before. I was always a faith person, like I believe, because that's how all my companies. People would say, "How you have a company named Pink Eye?" Like I remember people like in the industry saying, "I hate the name of that company," and I'm like, "But you know it though. That's all I care about." I mean, prominent people that would
Yeah,
say,
yeah, yeah.
but I'm like, but you know me. When you see me, you say that's Pink Eye. You
That's
know that
pink eye.
I've done my job. So part of that is
Yeah.
just like I said, just finding that space, and then, but I had to also be open to new spaces,
Mm.
things I was unfamiliar with, and limitations on my body, and different things, and just like take it with like a grain
Hmm.
of salt, right? Like
Right,
it's
right.
not the end of the world. I'm alive. It might take me a little longer to walk somewhere or things because I have to
Survive.
remember my body's still healing. My lungs are healing. My I'm still getting vaccines from like the vaccines you get as a kid. So that's
Yeah.
the second part of the process that you have to
Just
go,
go
you have to
through
get
the
all those
whole.
vaccines again.
Hmm.
All everything you get when you're a kid, you get that little card. Remember
It's
we used to
like
get that
being
card?
reborn. Yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm getting all that now as an adult.
Wow.
So, that's why I'm getting sick, or that's why. So I'm like, okay, just make sure the doctor's aware. But
Right.
again, I'm on a 5-year watch, and then after that, but I have met survivors that are 20 years in,
Okay.
and that's like inspiring to me. So I'm like, I'm gonna be that,
Right, right, right,
and but
right.
let's just do what I have to do every day. And but yeah, one of the biggest things I think that say changed, it's just like that awareness, and
Awareness.
also
Okay.
just like sometimes I can't do it, and just say no,
Hmm.
and it's okay,
Right, 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 right.
and understand what I've went through, and but don't use it as a limitation, but just say it's okay. I
Just
I just have a different journey to it, get to that
it's a
same
different time.
result.
It's a different timing. That's all.
That's it.
Different timing. You still get there. It's just at a different
Right.
time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no. That's again. Congratulations. I mentioned in the beginning, you being a warrior, and that's why I wanted to save for those watching, to get to this part so they can understand why I was saying that. It's not easy. It's tough, and you're doing it very gracefully. You know what
Thank
I
you.
mean? So once again, you know, I'm gonna be honest. I loved your story as far as the art and everything you do. I was more interested in talking to you because of everything that you've been through. Um, you know, the art is lovely. It's great. It's amazing. What you
Thank you.
do is great and everything. But you know, it's tough. Not everybody can deal with something, man, less than that even, right? And come out of it well. So I just want to thank you also for allowing me to
No,
share my
thank you for
space
allowing me to
with
speak
you.
on it, you know, in different
Um,
spaces, because I think a lot of people, I still, and the reason why I did put it online is because I feel like people that may go through it later, if
mhm,
they use a hashtag, they'll come to my page and they'll see me and they'll go down and see like me with
mhm,
no hair,
mhm, mhm.
and I just say that in a sense because it relates to that, but
Right, right.
they'll see the post and they'll see, and I have like a stories that has all my stories connected.
Hmm.
And that's what happened to me. I started searching tags and I found a young lady who went through it while she was pregnant.
Mm.
And, you know, and then she got pregnant again. And, you know, so she's like
Right,
flourishing in
right.
her life now, but she has this attached. And so it's like,
Hmm.
it's a chapter, right? And the vow I made to myself is like, I didn't want to become consumed with it. Like it's all my life,
Hmm.
right? Like I had like a shirt that said like, you know, warrior and stuff. And then I got like mad at it. Like I didn't want to wear it because I didn't want that. And it was just like a moment. I had to reflect on it and I had to deal
Hmm.
with that. And that was part of like processing, right? But I just didn't want to wear the orange pin, and because you know, for leukemia it's orange,
Right, right, right.
and I was like, no, I don't want this attached to me. I don't
Hmm.
want to say I'm a survivor, a warrior. And I really focused on that. And I'm like, I just want to be Erica again.
Hmm.
But I had to say, Erica, it's just a chapter of your life, like you go into high school or your college years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
This
yeah.
is just a small chapter, right? Because it wasn't years, and I dealt with it very quickly, and I'm thank God I did. It wasn't like, because there were a lot of people who wait years to be on these lists to get donations. They have to keep on treatments, and it's a
Right,
lot.
right,
And I've
right.
seen stories of that, and so I'm grateful that it showed a different turn of page for me. But I had a moment where I didn't post about
You
it for a
didn't
while.
like
I
that?
just didn't
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
be
I get it.
associated.
I get it.
But I already put it out there. So I was like,
Hmm.
okay, well, let's put a different space on it. You don't have
Hmm.
to be a survivor or a warrior. You can just be, it just happened to you and you overcame it
Right.
and all this stuff. And now I say, you know, I'm a survivor. It's not a big deal. But there was a moment where like I threw that shirt in the back of the closet. I didn't want to wear it no more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I want nobody. I started wearing wigs so I didn't look like I had no hair. And it was like, and I think that was me dealing with it in a weird way,
Fine. Yeah, yeah. Hey,
you
listen,
know. And
whatever,
then I had to
whatever.
come to terms and say, it's just a space of your life, you know, but it doesn't
So,
have to define the rest of it,
no,
you
no,
know.
no. It's just a chat. It's a footnote. You know what I mean? It's a chapter, and we all go through different parts and
Right.
different processes.
But this
Hey,
is my testimony and my journey. And for
exactly.
some people it's different. Some people it's more painful,
And
you know,
I
and
just
things like that. But
and I just want to say too, because you know, what you just shared with us, it even serves for people that might not necessarily be going through exactly what you went through, but just the fact of how to deal with something that you dealt with. You know what I mean? Thrown at,
right.
like it could be
Or they
anything.
can be a family member of somebody that's dealing with it. There's
Family
a lot of
member.
sides to it, and I
Hmm.
think as a person dealing with it, it's not a selfish thing like, well, I don't care about them. Like you think about everything. And
Hmm.
so I think for me also, which was really cool, is that some people reached out to my page. I remember there's one woman on Instagram, and I'm still friends with her. She reached out because her husband got diagnosed
See?
and she wasn't sure how to deal with it. And so she looked at my page, even though it wasn't her, but she was connected. It was her ex-husband. So they weren't even together.
Right.
But she had to come back into his life in the space of like not a caregiver, but kind of as a support system.
Support. Right, right, right.
And she would see what I went through. So it almost helped her
To be
be
able
more
to
supportive to
relate
her situation
to
because she got to
match.
see someone like me who is this, and she would ask questions and I would openly answer them to her
Okay.
because it's a learning experience for everyone.
Right,
You
right.
know, I had a friend who had his brother go through like myeloid like myeloma, which is a
Hmm.
little different. It's an issue with the red blood cells, right?
Hmm.
So leukemia is the white blood cells, myeloma is the red blood cells. So he had an issue with them, and he had two stem cell transplants. So he's asking me about my transplant,
Hmm.
and I'm like, well, we had two different things, so I can't speak fully on what your brother has, but I can. attest to what I'm going through, and maybe you can help you understand what your brother's going through, because
Right.
that's what it is too. There's some people who are support systems or caregivers and they don't know what we're feeling, right? Like
Hmm.
it's hard to explain to my friends that I'm fatigued, and they're like, well, you're not like 65 or 70, you're only like 41,
Yeah,
42.
yeah.
And I'm like, this is a different type of
It's
time I'm
different.
on,
Right.
right? Like I get, and they would say things like, oh, well, or if you have kids and stuff, I'm like, this is a little different, it's a different space. But I don't discredit what you're feeling, but I have to also allow my space because
Right.
it's
Right.
what I'm feeling. And, I currently have a friend who's going through a similar space with breast cancer, and we're having conversations. Even though our treatments were a little different, I'm
Different.
able to express, and she has an ally in me. I mean, I hate to say it like that,
No, no, no.
but
Right. Right. Right.
it's like, unfortunately, we can't control. I had hoped by sharing that none of my friends would have to go through this. And
Hmm.
when I got that news, it broke me, but at least she has an outlet in me. She can
Some.
explain how she feels, and I get it. And
Hmm.
I'm also telling her, like, be wary of this. You got to take care of yourself, because she's like me, busybody, and she's a
Right.
chef, so she loves cooking, and it's an amazing space. But she has that space to speak with me and things like that, and so that's really why community is important. And outside of community for things like that, just overall community and
Hmm.
sharing it, because there can be someone in the future. And if I can, they say, oh, yeah, that lady, I seen her on Instagram, or she's a friend
Right.
of a
Right. Right.
friend. They
Right.
can come here and I can help, if it's nothing, just to provide like assurance that it will be okay.
Right.
Some
Right.
people just love to see that. When I started growing my hair out and other stuff, people were just like, oh my God, you're back, you're back. And I'm like,
Right.
slow down, cowgirl. We're
Right.
getting
Right.
there,
Right.
but it's a day by day. And that's really what it is. It's literally day by day.
Right. Right. That's good. That's good. So
We're going to get to this art
yeah, let's see some of the stuff
now.
back there. You know what? Before, as you're doing that, where let people know where they can find you at, whether it's on Instagram or whatever social
Sure,
media
sure.
platform.
So my website is my first and last name, ericapurnell.com,
Mhm.
and my socials are all the same. So Instagram is at Erica Purnell. I even put it on the screen, I guess.
I
And
will.
I'm not active on X as much as I used to be. I'm on there as well under the same moniker, but Instagram, and my website is mostly where you can find me.
Okay, nice, nice. All right, let's see the goodies. Let's see what's
Okay, so this
back
is my
there.
taste. So this is like my workspace.
Okay.
So I just kind of cleaned it up through some pieces back here. Um, a lot of people ask me like, what's my style or what's my space? I'm like, color is my style.
Yeah,
As
right.
you guys can tell from watching this, I'm pretty bubbly. I'm a pretty colorful person. And so I try to convey that in my work.
Mhm.
And so Frida Kahlo is one of my favorite artists. So through the years, like this piece back here, I've done a lot of self-portraits of myself, and just a way to document myself. Surprisingly, I haven't done one after all the stuff I've talked about.
Okay.
So I'm actually trying to work on that maybe. During my time of treatment, I really didn't create a lot. And I think it was good for me, because everybody kept saying, you're going to create. And I'm like, I don't want to. Like, there's nothing I want to create, because it wasn't a colorful experience. So I would have felt off key doing something that didn't reflect me. That makes sense, right?
Hmm.
And so I was like, let me just deal with this. I can create after. I did create one piece, which was a mural I did last year.
Okay.
And it was a piece, and it was a colorful, and it was an octopus. And I tapped into that because of the way I felt during my treatment, because I had a lot of ports and tubes in me. And I said, well, between my arms and legs, I remember how I told you about the pink eye story, how I just thought of it. I
Right,
was
right.
laying in the hospital bed and I'm like, I'm a damn octopus. I literally said it just like that. Fast forward to my first idea, I drew a colorful octopus, and for the suction cups, I did the red blood cells, and then I did a
Okay,
cluster
okay.
of white in the center, and the octopus had flowers for eyes, and just had two hands that were mine, and the other ones were representing the tubes. And it was an amazing, I loved it. It was a great experience. Um,
Nice.
so that was the only piece I did that reflected on my experience. I haven't done more. I
Okay.
want to do more pieces. The octopus kind of connected with me. So
Hmm.
I kind of want to do a little series of them. And I think that'll help me get that out, right? As far as
Okay.
art goes. Some of the pieces back here. So we got Biggie here. Again, I'm from Brooklyn, Brownsville, Brooklyn. I've lived all over, Midwood, Flatbush, all that, but uh, always loved doing Biggie. I've done this, a lot of sip and paints. I've done this. We have created these at different events. It's always a lot of fun because he doesn't have a face. It's just like the Coogee
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
shades. And it's fun because it's like abstract, which is, I love abstract art. And then I have the piece over here. And then the piece back here with Venom is actually from a real famous cover of Maximum, I think Amazing Spider-Man. I forget the number, but
Hmm.
I think it's a Todd McFarlane cover.
Okay.
And I was always really into understanding the artist. So if you remember like Marvel comics, they always had like a lot of the artists had different styles.
Right, right, right.
And so you would have like Todd McFarlane and you'd have all these other people, right? And this cover in particular I always loved. It was just like Venom and the like, even though I'm a Spider-Man fan, I'm a real big symbiote fan. Like
Okay.
Carnage is like my favorite.
Really?
And I'm like I said, I'm a big comic geek,
Mhm.
to the point where I even go to Comic Con. I
Yeah.
dressed up
Oh,
as a symbiote one year, but it was a girl. It was Scream with the red and yellow hair. And
nice.
I got like a lot of pictures. It was an amazing time. But I
Yeah,
love like as far as like arch villains and
yeah, yeah,
anti-heroes,
yeah.
I love the symbiote story. And if you
Okay.
ever don't know about it, it goes deep, like with Venom, then Carnage, then the five kids, then the grand. It's like it's a whole universe. It's amazing. Um, then the
Yeah.
piece back here with the blue is a lot of some of my abstract pieces. You can see
Okay.
some similarities between the Biggie and
The
that
biggie.
one.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just using like paint and tools to create. Also kind of going back to my silkscreen days where I used
Mm.
to do a lot of silk screening. Shout out to like I used to go down to Varick Street and go get like screens made, and I would just do like my own screens in my crib. Um, you could take the photos there, and they'll develop it. I didn't have the space to develop my own screens. I knew how to do it, and I would just get these big screens. I go home with the squeegee and speedball up my stuff. So with acrylic paint, I started actually using the same tools and just applying paint and creating some really fun textures and stuff like
Nice.
that. The piece over here, again, I always do a self portrait through the years of myself. I've done it since like high school. So I have self portraits of myself dating back all the way to like 1999. And so this piece was another piece I did. Kind of use like a selfie filter as a fun thing, and just that's when my hair was black and long and crazy. And I haven't done one of myself from this process, which is something I want to do, because I haven't done any art to document the process except a mural I did some time back where my first mural out of in my recovery was
Okay.
here in Harlem, and I did an octopus to document my process because, like I spoke about with the pink eye story, I was laying in the bed and just was like, "Hey, I look like an octopus with all these tubes coming out of me," and I wanted to have a fun and colorful way to show that. So I made a really colorful octopus that represented me, and then the red blood cells as the suctions and stuff. But more self portraits, more work to come because I really do want to tap into my creative spirit and document it as like a form of therapy to overcome
Right,
what
right.
I've been through. And then some other fun things are
Yeah.
just some old spray cans and things like this are from. I work with like Sneaker Room in New Jersey. I've done their
Okay.
show called Art Max a few
Hmm.
times. This was done by Jeff Rose King. They had like a specialty beer. So I drink it, of course, and then I keep the can. I wash it out. But I have cans going all the way back from like early 2000s, going to like loft parties in the LES and Chelsea when they used to have like Pepsi used to do a lot of cool stuff with Stash, the
Right,
artist
right, right, right.
Stash. And so I'm outside of being an artist, I'm a collector as well. I
Yeah.
love art, which is why I have these cool if you know Keith Haring, the
Hmm.
foundation just launched this collection with Lego. I was really happy to get my hands on one. I'm not like a big Lego person, but for Keith Haring,
Keith.
anything.
Yeah,
He's one of my
yeah,
favorite artists. I actually met a lot of people who knew Keith Haring personally when I used to do those like downtown art parties, and they said that if Keith was alive, he would have loved it.
yeah. Okay.
Keith was just one of those like stand-up guys. He would just give you art if you loved it. Like he didn't care about money, and things like that. And I just said, like, you just like in the LES and you can think about it. Keith Haring would have probably been like my dad's age, like 55, 60 years old.
Right, right, right,
So he
right.
would have still been pretty prominent out here,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
at this age. And I think he would have loved to see the new wave of like kids like myself that came after him. I
Keith.
have a lot of stuff here. Like again, I love to collect stuff. So I just like a couple weekends ago I met up with like Shiro. She's a Japanese graffiti artist and
Yeah,
she did
yeah,
something
yeah,
at the
yeah.
Bronx Brewery. And so I was there with her and I,
Oof.
I know Shiro from like way back in the day. We used to do shows when I did like sneakers and I met
Nice.
her and then fast forward, she's been around the world and she came and I seen her there. So she has like coloring books and she dropped a new book called Planet something. And
Okay.
I bought it and stuff. And I just love to collect just the different arts. Even
Nice.
uh the guy who's in charge of the Keith Haring Foundation was actually his best friend,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
And he used to DJ at the art parties I used to, and that's how I met him.
Nice.
And so whenever I would hit him up, I'd be like, "Hey, I need that Keith Haring Polaroid." Like my second tattoo is of the heart, and me and
The
my
hot.
best friend both have this because that's both our
Okay.
favorite artists. Like we went to LA last year, and I actually went to the Luna show, where it's
Okay.
like the Ferris wheel.
Mm-hmm.
So all the artists back in Germany used to like paint on the Ferris wheel. So it's Basquiat, it's Kenny Schwarf, it's Keith. It's crazy. So
Every
Keith did these banners. So it's actually like banners from like the 80s. You can see like the
that's
paint cracking.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
really
yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was like
Nice.
happy because I'm here in Harlem and the crack is whack murals that they did have an
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
artistry
yeah,
do
yeah,
it,
yeah.
but it's nice to see it. But there are some places sprinkled around that have the original art that he's done out
Yeah,
here
yeah, yeah,
still
yeah,
out,
yeah.
which is that
There's
that's
some
not at the
that
auction block or nothing.
nice,
So this
nice.
this shoe, this is a very special shoe to me. When I was doing my pink eye days, this was actually one of my most like famous pitch. Like this is the one that was on the
That's
VH1
the
Hip Hop Honors,
okay.
along with a few others. So, what kind of kicked off my career with pink eye is when I was out on Union Square doing stuff. I had shoes on the tables and stuff. What happened was one day I walked by Foot Locker on 34th Street. It's
Okay.
not the same one where it is now. It's a different one.
Right, right,
It was
right.
like down the street or something. There was a guy in a mask doing a shoe, and there was a guy next to him. I guess like I don't
The
know his manager or somebody. And I'm walking with my best friend. We're walking to the Metro North train, and I had to stop because I'm like, that's what I do. And he's like, so he's trying to promote it, and I'm like, I do that. Like I do that because again, I was very arrogant when I was younger, so I would just speak and. And he's like, "You do those?" I'm like, "Yeah." I had my BlackBerry at the time. I remember showing him like
yeah.
little digital pictures of my BlackBerry, and he was like, "I'm gonna give you my number. I want you to call me tomorrow." Da da da. Turns out this guy had a connection with Adidas,
Oh,
and Adidas back. This was 20. This got to be like 2007 or eight. They
okay.
released the Addy color again, the one where you could
Mm.
change the stripes,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and they had a campaign where they had customizers do it and then say, well, if you can't customize, you can customize your stripes. So that was the campaign. It was led by this brother named, I think, I think it was Omar or something. And he connected with this guy named Charlie. And he
Mm.
said, so what's your name? I said, I'm Pink Eye. I was like on the beginning. And we had a truck. Remember, they used to have a barbershop on wheels back then. They have it
Mm.
now, but it was the
Mm.
first one.
Okay.
They let us use the van and they wrapped it with the Adidas Addy color wrap.
Wow.
And where Atmos used to be in Harlem, right by Adam Clayton Park over there,
Mm-hmm.
they parked us there and the barber truck had like a window. And they had us in there like instead of getting cuts, we're customizing
Customizing
Adidas.
the shoes.
They
Wow.
gave us like Addy color jackets. We got our own shoes. So we got to customize our shoes. So, I wrote Pink Eye on the side of mine and I'm wearing my jacket. And we're just in there just doing it. So my girlfriend Fetty, she was part of that's how I met her. And we would go to the Bronx, we went to Queens, went to Manhattan, and we just touring. So I had did this one in the truck.
You did that one in the truck.
And it has like a little bit of everything. I think this was like representing kind of like African cross color prints.
Mm-hmm.
This was like my pink eye colors. I did the apple for NYC. There's the bricks with the graffiti, which is inspired by the next piece I'm going to
By the other
show.
one.
And then just some other tribal prints, a little bit of a skyline. And then the
Mm-hmm.
trains are under the tongue, under here.
Nice.
And so so they just gave us like these in abundance. Like, here, do this. And these were like samples. And then
Right,
we
right.
had the actual ones that changed the color. So, some of the customizers were customizing it, the strips to put them in. So it was an amazing. That one was the first time
Nice.
I got on YouTube
Right.
years ago, right? This
Right,
is
right,
years
right,
ago.
right.
And it kind of kicked it off. So once I did the
Okay.
Adidas thing, at that time it was still like a MySpace time.
Mm-hmm.
MySpace is kind of really where I got that exposure.
Exposure.
And
Okay.
that's where people remember me from. And then, I went to Facebook and then I went to Instagram. So it was like the jump between the
Yeah,
social
yeah, yeah, yeah,
medias.
yeah.
And when Twitter came out, oh, I was on Twitter morning, noon, and night. I had TweetDeck where I could just like
Yeah,
multiple
yeah, yeah, yeah.
tweets. And it was a time. I remember,
That's like 2008, right? Like
yeah, it's
2009,
really,
2008.
I was up one morning,
Mhm.
I had Fruity Pebbles, that's my
Tweet
favorite
deck.
cereal, and I'm eating them, and I'm like, busting down this bowl of Fruity Pebbles, about to get into these kicks. I was very like, hey, this is my life. I'm showing you what.
Mhm.
And it was pretty cool. And so an editor at Slam magazine liked my tweet. He goes, I've been reading your tweets for a while now. I like how you combine your life with your work.
Mm.
That tweet got me a feature in Slam magazine.
Wow.
So I tell people the story all the time. They don't believe me. I'm like, no, I literally tweeted I was eating Fruity Pebbles and just talking about my sneakers.
And
And he was just like, it's something you have. You know how to connect with people. And I'm like, well, I'm just eating cereal. I mean, I'm doing what I'm doing. And he had somebody come to my house and take a photograph. And I got a whole like page feature. And then
wow.
they continued the interview online. And it's actually still up. I actually Googled it a couple of months ago. And I connect on my website, my PDF, I connect to it so people can see the whole interview. So it's pretty
Okay.
cool. And then I had people
It's on the
like,
website?
I think it's a Slam magazine, Slam Online or something like that. And I think I
Right.
searched it and it comes up like
And
in
it
the
comes up.
archives or something. But yeah,
Nice.
I'll send it to you so you can see it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I think on my website, if you go to the PDF where I show the actual article,
Hmm.
it's the issue and it was Kobe on the cover. So it was a 2009 issue of Kobe and I was in it. And then the following issue had Carmelo Anthony. And you know how people write letters to the
Hmm.
previous? I had so much feedback mail,
Nice.
like, oh, da da da. It was like dudes in jail writing like, yo, who's this girl, da da da. And then I had people like, yo, she's pretty dope. I like her work. It was really an amazing thing. So, and then from there, I had a couple of other magazines. So it was a nice run. So I always say like, this shoes,
That's
it has to always be the fat laces on the
fat
shelf,
laces. Yeah,
okay?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's not my shoe size. I wear a 10. This is a little small baby. But Adidas were always fun because you always had the space to create.
Hmm.
Stan Smiths were always my favorite to customize because
Those,
you just
yeah.
have all canvas, right?
Hmm.
Here you have the breaks and stuff. But I used to do a lot of my customizations on Stan Smiths,
On
and
Stan
they were
Smith.
highly requested because I could do like a portrait of people.
Mm.
I've done like everything underneath the sun on Stan Smiths.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
and then
That's cool. That's
this little
cool.
baby, this is when I started getting a little more advanced in my work. This is actually I call these the brick layers.
Yeah, that's
Each brick
nice.
is hand done with plaster of Paris to give it like the sandy brick look.
Okay.
And then I did like just some tag graffiti, 718 to represent New York,
Right,
and then
right.
just some abstract. And the dark blue is for the midnight sky. So I did this as a homage to all my graph writers. A lot of people do ask me, do I write graph? I do. Of course, I didn't come up in that time of
Right,
writing
right,
on the
right, right.
trains and stuff, but I always said, well, I'm the new era of graph writers that do it on murals and, we do it for profit now, where it's, I guess what they call safe graffiti, right?
Do,
So
do you
I
do,
definitely tagged up some spaces back in my day, but
do you
never
think
hardcore with the paint.
do you think if you did come up at that time, would you have been in those subway tunnels and
Oh,
stuff?
I definitely would have been.
Yeah,
Lady Pink is one of my biggest inspirations. Um, I met her like once or twice, and
yeah.
when I told her my name, she pinched my cheek.
Every time you
That was one
talk,
of the most amazing moments. Like, I think we were at a show and I met her and I'm like, you're like, I did my history on her. I read up on her and
Mhm.
I'm like, she's one of the more prominent females in this game. And she's like, what's your name? She has a little accent.
Yeah,
And I said, they call me Pink Eye. I said, like you. And she's like,
yeah,
she went like this. And then that was it. And I was like, and I have a picture with her. Like, it's the most, I
yeah.
didn't send you this picture. So I used to have all these archives up on my Instagram page, but this was before Instagram had the archive feature, so I deleted everything,
Hmm.
unfortunately. But part of my resurrection with it is maybe to show some old stuff. So I'll definitely share that with
Oh
you. But that
man,
was a
yeah, yeah,
legendary.
yeah, yeah.
I met her at Sneaker Pimps,
Okay.
and I think that was the year Nas was there. So I did some headlining shows like I mean Nas was like within feet of me on the stage at the Roseland Ballroom. Now I'm going way back. This is when Roseland was
Yeah,
still out, right?
Roseland. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we did a great show. I think that was
Wow.
2007 or 9. It was around that time. That
Okay.
was a very busy time for me for sure.
Okay. Yeah, every time when I think of the word the name Pink Eye, I always think of Lady Pink.
Yeah, she was, I
I
mean,
always
it
think of
wasn't a
Lady Pink.
direct inspiration of
No, no,
name
no,
from
no, of
her,
course. Yeah,
but
unless
I think in the sense of like the new age of stuff. And
hmm
she's out here still pumping work.
she's
So
still out here.
like I said,
Yeah,
I think, she would probably be more in the sense of like my dad's era, in the
hmm
50s to 60 range of
hmm
boomer age, right? And so
hmm
I think if I did come up in that time or if I was, a 20-year-old in the 80s, I definitely would
You
have
definitely would have
been
been
out
out there.
here.
Yeah.
Whether, I have like a love for DJing. I never do it professionally, but I love the art of it. And I'm like, I would have been in some realm of hip hop,
Yeah.
some to some degree. I would have definitely been in the mix.
Nice, nice, nice. Man. So Erica, we've talked, I think, pretty much about everything. I'm
We
sure there's
did,
things
we
that we didn't
did.
touch on, but one question before we go. Do you think you'll do another sneaker anytime soon?
I do. I actually have
Yeah.
some. I have some. As every artist knows, we always have unfinished work. I still
So,
have sneakers that are like not finished. I had like a pair of Boondock sneakers I was supposed to do a while ago. I never finished them. Um, I want to do it, but I want to put a different flavor on it, right?
okay,
In the sense of like thinking about art and collections.
okay.
I want to. Before it was just like custom. I'll do it for you, but now I like to say, hey, here's a collection, right?
And you,
That was kind of always my dream with that or canvas work is just like, let's build collections out, right? In the sense
mhm,
of people say, well, never wanting to follow like, people always think there's like this model, whether it's your like music or art or
mhm,
fashion, you have to follow these realms. And I feel like in this day and age, you really can really make your own path. And my pink eye journey was a testament that I could really do whatever I want. I could name it what I want. It could be whatever I want it to be. I own it. I claim it. I
mhm.
direct what I want it to be. And those that love it will follow. You don't have to worry about everybody being your audience. You find
Right,
your
right.
audience if you
Hmm.
authentic. And the thing with Pink Eye was just authentically me.
Hmm.
It was just another side of me, right?
Right,
It was
right.
this like how people say like Beyonce has Sasha Fierce. That was like my side. So that was my more like street edgy, stuff like that because I would always present myself as personable. So people found out you from Brownsville? I'm like, yeah, we got class in Brownsville, excuse me. But I was raised like that. But where I'm from doesn't define who I am.
Right.
Um, I have different, and we all have different sides. We can be this way or that way. And
Hmm.
that was just a way for me to show a more funner side and
Okay.
to the point where it became really just who I was. Like it wasn't an alter ego. It was just like a side of me. It was a part of me.
So if somebody wanted a pair of custom sneakers right now, and they reached out to you, are you accepting
We're
work?
getting busy. We're getting
Okay,
busy.
okay.
I actually
So,
did one
so
last year for Father's Day.
I have,
I had a friend of mine from my corporate America space
okay.
who knew about me, and he said, "Hey, I have a friend who wants to get some shoes done for her husband," and it was a Yankees fan, and I'm like, I'm a Mets fan, as you can see from my cup. I'm a bona fide. I see your hat, and we'll get into that later.
It's
But
okay.
I'm a Mets fan. My grandfather was a Dodgers fan, turned into a Mets
We, we,
fan.
we,
It's
we, we,
legacy. It's legacy.
we forgive you. It's okay. Don't
Okay, it's
worry.
okay. But and one day I asked my father, I said, "Why did Grandpa like the Mets?" He's like, "Cause that was the working man's team. Like the
Yeah, yeah,
Yankees
yeah,
were
yeah,
like
yeah.
the money man's
Yeah,
team."
yeah, yeah.
And my
The blue
grandfather was,
collar team. Yeah.
he coming from the people.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, "Well, Grandpa was a Dodgers fan, Brooklyn Dodgers fan, and then they
Mm-hmm.
became the Mets." So it was like hereditary. And so I'm like, well,
Mm-hmm.
it's three generations deep. I'm not giving it up. No matter how much they lose or win, it's blue and orange forever.
Got you.
But so he was a Yankees fan, and I was like, do I really have to make a pair of Yankee customs? And I did it, and it was a great thing. And he loved them. She had a whole, we talked about a design. So as orders come in from people that know me, I mean, I'll always happily do them. I
Okay.
just don't have it out there where you can like put it on an order form and put,
Right,
through
right,
the
right, right.
email. But people
Okay.
that know will contact me and be like, hey, do that. And that's how it works out.
Okay. Okay. Well, listen, Erica, once again, I thank you so much. I appreciate it. Again, you're amazing. Your work is amazing. Your story is amazing. And I hope nothing but more success comes your way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like I said earlier, the TV and NSWAY 73 TV stands for talent and vision, and we spoke about both. Um, I think, man, well beyond, right? You definitely have the talent and obviously have a clear vision of everything you're doing and where you're going. So, I commend you, like I told you off screen. Um, Man, and keep going, Erica. I hope to see more of
We're
you.
gonna keep going. We can't stop at this point.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
if that can't stop me, I don't think anything
Nothing
else
can. Yeah.
can. And that's the thing about life. You're gonna go through the ups and downs.
Hmm.
It's just how you deal with the ups and downs.
Hmm.
And I learned that early. My father told me at 17, like, the decisions you make are ultimately yours. He goes, I'm gonna support you, but use your life, right? So and I remember hearing that and I was like, oh my God, he doesn't love me. But he was setting me up
Yeah.
to understand that, like, I'm gonna make these choices, and sometimes it will benefit me and sometimes it won't. But how I deal with either one is
Hmm.
going to ultimately convey that. And that's why I think opportunities show themselves and good people show themselves to me. And, sometimes you get a little bad grape in the bunch.
Right,
But you
always.
also learn to, like, it doesn't have to consume you. It doesn't have to take your energy. It doesn't have to stop you from what you're doing. You can just accept things and accept people and accept yourself in the process of it. And ultimately, again, how you deal with stuff.
Hmm.
We're not subject to heartache. We're not subject to downfall. It's gonna
Right.
happen regardless, and what we decide to do with it. Some people, it breaks them, and rightfully so, because some things in life are very heavy. And I understand, and I'm more empathetic to people because you understand, like, this stuff ain't easy out here. I mean, this world we're in
It's
now is
not.
very scary, and we're all kind of just hanging on by a thread. And
Hmm.
with a little grip, and you help each other and as much as you can. But ultimately, it's how you deal with it and how you process it, and then you just have some fun in the process, as much fun as you can, and just reflect and just get ready for the next thing for sure.
Definitely, definitely. That's the perfect note to end this. Uh, Once again, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you go and follow Erica on Instagram and every social media. Erica Purnell,
Erica Purnell, yep.
Erica Purnell,
Purnell.
and you can
Erica with
find.
a C, always
Yeah,
with a C.
yeah.
Is it Eric with a K or a C?
No, see,
Oh, okay,
see.
okay.
That's what I mean. It's
People ask
crazy
me that,
how.
and I'm like, excuse me, it's a
Yeah,
C.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
classic way,
I
okay?
feel like the K is
No
not
shade
really
to
a.
the K's, no shade to
Yeah,
the
but I
K's,
feel like it's
but
not authentic with the K.
no,
I'm
it's
like,
not. It's a little extra on the side. No, the
yeah.
C's are the best way. So
Yeah. But everybody, make sure to go follow, check out the website. Make sure you keep up with everything she's doing. And you never know, she might be at a wall near you. You know what I mean? Go check it out. I want to go see that mural you're
yes,
working
yes,
on.
come through, come
Yeah.
through. I'll be
Where
out there finishing it up probably this week
where's
or
that
the
one at?
next. So it'll be up soon, finished soon.
Where's that one?
Oh, it's on 124th and Park, right
124
by the
Friend
Metro
Park.
North train station.
Nice, nice, nice. Once again, thank you for tuning in. This is NSWAY 73 TV. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and make sure you check out all the other great shows that are up on the platform on YouTube. And Erica, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Yeah,
guys for listening in, and thank you for the opportunity for to speak. And you guys be well and be blessed.
thank you.